Hello, everybody. Hello, Mover.
Hello, Gonky.
Oh.
Good job.
Well, hey, we've got guest host today, Daniel Flores, and of course, the glue that holds it all together, Doug, in the background.
Check out his book, South of Heaven, My Year in Afghanistan. And then he's got movies, Above the Best, which is actually a really good show. And then Apache Warrior. And Daniel, have you seen that movie
Top Gun
with the interpreter guy? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the one they rescued after the Kabul fell. Yeah,
yeah. It's very similar to some, because you have your interpreter guy on there, don't you?
Yeah, actually, we got two of them, and actually one of them that we did not call out in the movie, but he's the one actually that shot the two guys, the two Taliban through the wall. He's here in the United States, and his story, his true story, is just like the movie The Killing Fields.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible what Abdul went through to get his family here. He was at the Abbey Gate when it exploded, when the bomb went off, and it was actually very interesting because he was talking about it, that he got up to the Abbey Gate, and one of the deals that he had to do was have a password to get in touch with one of the Marines that was guarding the gate to let him in. And the password, he was wearing a T-shirt that said "Vote for Pedro" from the movie. Yeah, and
Perfect.
So yeah, he lifted up his man dress and showed it to the Marine Guard. They took him a couple hundred meters away from the Abbey Gate. He carried his wife and kids, his beautiful little daughter. I think she was about 4 years old when he pulled her across the Pooh River, the ditch, handed his kids up to the female Marine Guard, handed them up to her. She got them all onto the base and everything. And it's about 10 hours later was the explosion. And sad to say, but yeah, she was one of them that didn't make it. And so that was just kind of the middle of his entire story, making it back here to the United States. But yeah, that's just like the movie. Yeah.
So you've seen the movie. They should have made a movie off of you because you had Apaches.
There you go.
I mean,
that's right.
Just saying, Apaches are a lot cooler. And you're still flying, right? You're still doing air med?
Yep. Yeah, I'm flying EMS stuff now, and part-time. I'm
as it should be.
Yeah. Although I say part-time, I through full shifts all through January, and I'm doing it kind of here in February again. So this little retirement part-time gig is turning out to be full-time, but it's fun. It's a very rewarding job.
Is that an Apache MFD behind you? Yeah. Or is that your DCS setup?
Yeah, that's my DCS gonna be set up. But yeah, those are two
Really?
MFDs.
Oh, nice.
That thing.
So cool.
Oops, hang on. Right there. That's the actual. Oh my gosh! On the optical relay tube on the front seat that they gave to me from my crash. That was one of the deals they gave to me, and that was one of the last things I saw before I was. Didn't remember anything more. Was that side grip, optical relay tube, the grip. It's got the little switches and everything to control the camera, the laser, and the gun. But yeah, that's it right there.
That's awesome.
Wow. Well, I mean, really.
Yeah, I don't have anything like that yet on my. It's very sparse. I love me wall.
Wombat's got a potty chair.
Oh yeah,
Wombat's the most humble of us all. He has like one picture of an E2. That's awesome.
Why is Wombat here tonight?
Well, we limit ourselves to one guest host at a time because it would probably melt the internet if we tried to have everybody on at the same time. Like, so next week we've got Mace Curran, who former Thunderbird. So we're just trying to spread the love around because Wombat's great, but he will steal the show.
Yeah, he does.
Rightfully so.
Yeah. He
Yeah,
will
we don't
steal
have
the
much.
show.
If we don't have much quality, we bring him on.
Oh, I wouldn't say that. Wombat.
Just a smile.
So listen, and Doug, I know we've got the wrong thing queued up, so it's awesome. For everybody to know, the Air Force has asked retirees to come back, and it's not us. So I'm going to talk about this program here in a second, but just to be clear, Gonky and I, unlike Daniel,
many others, yes.
Well, unlike Daniel in this situation, we're not retired
yet.
So correct. We had that conversation today. We're still in. So we can't retiree come back if we're still in. So just to clear that up. But the Air Force, Doug, if you want to, I'll throw that up there. The Air Force is seeking retirees to come back to active duty, up to 4 years on active duty for returning pilots, security forces, and others. And, they went by Air Force, AFSC, Air Force Specialty Codes, and the 11 series is pretty high in demand. So honestly, I don't even need the article because I saw the PowerPoint. And yeah, it's critical staffing shortages, renewed tensions in the Middle East. They're looking for all this, and it's like ROTC, all these things. The thing is, if you go look at the actual slides from AFPC, I don't think there's going to be a lot of takers because it's basically it's guys and girls that are retired. So, your retiree pay and your VA or whatever will stop while you do this. I don't think the time counts towards your active duty time. So if you were like a reservist that was like 18 years active duty service and you're like, I'm going to do this to get to the magic 20, I don't think it'll get you to 20. So that's kind of probably going to eliminate some people. There was also the whole, you still got to take PT tests. You still have to be PCS, so permanent change of station, so they can move you wherever you want. And if you decide, hey, I'm not going to do that, well, you're no longer in this program. And then there was the deployability. So, they can still, now you can say no, but if you're in a combat coded profession, you can still be deployed, which, some might say, hey, mover, why wouldn't you want to do that? Well, because if I'm a retiree, I'm probably not current in an airplane, which means they would have to give me what's called a TX course, a transition course, which in today's world are the hardest things to find for anybody. Part of the reason Gonky and I have not graced fighter communities once more, besides the fact that they hate us, but the other part of why don't we go fly, why can't we find a job, is because they only want current qualified people because there are no transition courses for anything. There's such a backlog on these transition courses because they're still trying to get the initial calls done, and there's only so much space, if you will. So you're not going to fly. More than likely, unless you're current enough to go, right back in, like you just retired and you still got your Form 8, which is your check ride and stuff. But more than likely, you're not going to do that. And you're basically volunteering for a staff job at the whim of whatever they have. It just doesn't sound like a great deal. Gonky, what am I missing?
No, I mean, and I guess maybe a lot of people wouldn't realize this, but there's a lot of jobs in the Navy, Air Force, probably even in the Army, where it calls for an aviator, but you're not aviating. You may be, to be part of some think tank that just needs an aviator point of view. So kind of like what Mover's saying, it's like, oh, we need pilots back. You throw your name in the hat and they're like, we don't have any money and not enough manning to send you a TX course, but we've got this think tank thing over here that's a great deal, and some windowless building somewhere, and that's where you could go. In my mind, if they were serious about this program remotely succeeding, there would be some more incentives. But Mover, did you see any incentives on the slideshow?
I'm glad you brought that up, because here's a slideshow. I went and found it. So, and this is not a joke.
Are these incentives?
So you're ordered active duty and your retired grade revert to retired status in the same grade. You're not eligible for your aviation bonus or promotion consideration. You only deploy if you volunteer unless you're in a combat coded unit like I talked about. No additional active duty service commitment. You've got to still take the PT test. And you have to have your performance documented via the performance brief static closeout, potentially subject to PCS due to mission changes. But if you say no, you're out. So that was the other part I missed in that whole good deal thing of the you don't get the bonus. So these guys, you know, the thing I look at is like, what are you competing against? You're competing against the airlines, and the airlines are hiring like mad right now. Do you think someone who has already got their retirement is going to say, you know what, Delta, I don't want $400,000 a year to fly 8 days a month. I would rather go and do this.
I would argue, I mean, me personally, even if, I mean, just because I'm in the airlines doesn't make it or break it for me. Even if I wasn't in the airlines, it doesn't sound like a good deal, man, because all your VA and your retirement benefits stop, you know, and
you can't double dip. I think that's, I mean, I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure you can't, because like guys that I've known that have come back, like it stops for reserves. Every day you do it, it stops.
Well, also it's like, well, we need to PCS you. Well, I don't want to move. Like,
move your family.
You know, there's bases around here. You need some help. So, like I said, I don't think they're. I mean, I don't think they're serious. I mean,
I could see it if you were flying. Like, here's your, you know, you want to go scratch that itch to go be a, you know, F-16 aggressor at Nellis.
Well, Daniel, you're retired. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I was reading the comments on that, and they didn't take very many, not too many takers. There's like everything you're talking about. There's no incentives. Everything is bad. It's, if I've got a job with the airlines, even if it's brand new with, you know, one of the big ones, I just can't see giving that up to go to Djibouti.
Well, even if you did, the reserves and the guard exist. So, you know, I mean, you don't have to go active duty. You can go find your, you know, your Burger King jet, if you will, to have it your way and go figure out a way to have that work-life balance.
I mean, from like a Navy, I don't know what the equivalent would be like in the Air Force, but in like the Navy, it like a good deal, like a Super JO tour, you know, like you go to a squadron, you're really senior junior officer, so you really can't be middle management. And you're so senior that, you know, you don't have to stand as much duty. And basically you just lead flights.
Like, oh, dude, that's what I was just saying. The Nellis aggressor thing. You're like, okay, I'm going to go fly red air. No red flags.
I mean,
just
this is red operational.
Air. Yeah. Well,
you know,
I
mean, as far as active duty, but you know, something like that would be like, oh, that's maybe, but PT test is not an incentive.
Yeah. Once you've tasted the free life, it's tough to go back.
Once you've tasted freedom.
Yeah. Would you like to go back to your prison cell, Mr. Dufresne?
That's funny because it's true.
It's true. That's it. Yeah. Exactly it.
I don't think
the same thing happened with customs. When I was actually came up to my mandatory age retirement at 57, we were hurting for pilots so bad that they were offering extensions. And I thought, you know what? I love this. This is great. And so I extended. That lasted for about 1 year. And everybody kept telling me, man, go to the airlines, you know, do this and all that. And I finally retired. And yeah, once I got out, man, that freedom.
I can live where I want.
No.
Amazing.
Yeah. You can do whatever you want. Oh my God. Every day's a Saturday.
Right.
Pure speculation here. Does not represent the DoD or any of its components. But Gonky or Daniel, do you think possibly, you know, you sat in these meetings, right, where they start throwing up, they call them COAs, courses of action. Do you think possibly this is a case of one of those where some staff guys like, I got an idea. It's going to be the bottom COA, but we're just going to put it in there because I needed 5 bullets. And, you know, he said I had to have 5 bullets. And they're sitting in this meeting and they're like, that's the one. And you're like, whoa, it's filler. No. try that. You know, you're going to get promoted tomorrow for that great idea. And nobody really was like, that's not the best idea.
Yeah, the good idea fairy shows up again, and
it makes a good fit rep or eval bullet.
Yeah.
You know, single-handedly came up with a program to reinstate.
Leave it to somebody we know, Gonky, to break the concentration. And I'm not putting this out there because I don't want him. I don't want to call him out because he'll fire me. It says, I think Mover will be 50 next week, so he can fly heavies. 41 in 3 days. So happy birthday to me.
There you go.
But probably
welcome to the age of aches and pains.
Yeah. Oh, I've been there, man. I've been there. I'm still. But I mean,
I think, dude. Sorry, that it's they have a retention problem, right? They have a recruiting problem. So they're trying to plug holes in this boat that's sinking. And I don't, on the recruiting side, it's, hey, let's lower standards, and on the retention side, in my mind, they're not doing a whole lot, to be honest. So I don't know. As a whole, DOD is just kind of bleeding out, man. And they're not taking it seriously, if you ask me.
We're gonna talk about this in a minute. They're restructuring, right? So the Air Force today announced with their restructuring plan, which is, I read it and I still don't know what it means, but we're gonna talk about it anyway because why not? But I think that there's a lot of focus shifting because we're departing as Daniel. You spent a lot of your time fighting in a very specific area of operations, and we shift and then we pivot back and then we shift. But meanwhile, we've got this identity crisis where we don't necessarily know who we are and where we need to go. And I think when you do that, people kind of meander and they go, well, okay, well, it's not ask not what your country can do for you or what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. It's what can I do for me? That higher purpose, right? Because if you compare military flying on paper to airline flying, there's no comparison. Everybody's going to say, well, I'm going to make a ton of money. What keeps people in the seats, job satisfaction and a higher calling and thinking this is about something bigger than myself. And I think when you lose that focus, people run because they're like, well, I mean, what am I doing? I have no idea.
Yeah. You get tired of the BS. You finally see, you take off the blinders. You're like, wait.
Yeah, that's why a 22-year-old can, I go, because they don't, I mean, like when you were Gonky, when you were 23, did you care about anything other than I get to go fly this jet? This is the coolest thing I'll ever do.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't see past tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it was my entire goal was to make it to something, pointy nose and fast.
Yeah.
But
all right. We'll move on from that one. We've got some comments from the audience. We're going to talk about this here in a second. Happy Monday, but rest in peace. Captain Neva, Captain Casey, Captain Moulton, Sergeant Langen, and Lance Corporal Davis, Nickel Negras, Semper Fi. Yeah, we're going to talk about that mishap here in a second. And I'm glad we've got you, Daniel, because it's some helicopter stuff that I think is worth at least discussing. It is Monday. It's Lundi Gras here in the great state of Louisiana, which means Fat Monday, the day before Fat Tuesday. MJ says, or MJA, so it sounds more of a PR exercise than something implemented to actually work in a functional sense.
Yeah,
maybe.
I just,
yeah. MJ, you're probably right. I mean, it's strange. It's very strange.
It's not the first time they've done it either. And there have been some successful, there's a real not famous, but there's a very popular U2 guy that did it. Right. And he was in the air show circuit, United and stuff, and everybody knows him. And it worked out. And he actually became a civilian U2 pilot, that was in the news and stuff. It works in certain places, but I don't think it works without, here's your airplane. Because we like to fly and shiny things. How do you incentivize somebody? Give them shiny things.
Right. Film a bone.
Yeah. Here, we're going to make things happen.
Make things good again.
Cluterus says, what Ranger bat, I'm assuming battalion, on your shirt there, good sir?
It was just 75th Bat. It was the entire 75th Regiment.
It's all of them.
Yeah, because we didn't know who we were supporting when we were in Afghanistan. It was first, second, or third. We didn't know who it was, so every last one of them.
Yeah. All of the drawbacks, none of the perks. Clearly, bureaucracy in action.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's hard to. I sit here and think about leadership, and I'm like, this cannot be an honest effort from from genuine leadership. If it is, like, I'm just.
Well, it raises the question: is this the checklist? Right? Because they've done this before, and in previous years, right? Stop loss.
Yeah,
the stop loss was next. Was like, okay, we're going to try to get people to come back. No, can't do that. No one comes back. Okay, well, guess what? You're not leaving. You know, but I don't understand. They have to fix, and we've talked about this before because I've talked to my friend in the higher levels, the higher headquarters. You've got a recruiting problem we've talked about. You've got a retention problem we've talked about, which is this. But then you've got production where you can't train people. And then you've got an actual cockpit shortage where you need fighter pilots, but you don't have any place to put them. So where do you put them while the pieces are shifting around? And right now we're in this big transition where, you know, F-35 is standing up. Oh, nope, it's backlogged again. Well, it's backlogged and it's been grounded for this. And now we're down to these Viper squadrons. And, oh, we just got lost the schoolhouse for this. You have these bottlenecks that need to be alleviated in order to fix the problem. Meanwhile, it's the perfect storm because people are bailing for greener pastures and more money.
Well, I mean, what makes it even worse is, you know, if you are in a leadership position in the military, how do you plan when it's like, okay, there's a CR that'll take us to the end of March. All right, there's one that'll take us to the end of April. You know, you can't tell your maintainers, pilots, I mean, you name it. If there's a school they need to go to, you can't schedule it 6 months out. Why? Because they have no money.
Yeah.
Well, we may have money then. Well, how can you plan a professional fighting force with maybes? You know?
But that's not the leadership of the military. That is Congress.
I mean, okay, at the highest level, you know,
Yeah.
I mean, you can, you know, the buck has to stop somewhere, but, you know, the poor maintainer or pilot or navigator is sitting there trying to get quals and go to school. And, you know, it kind of magnifies the problem you brought up, Mover. There's not enough IPs at the schoolhouse to get this done. Right. I mean, it's a real problem, you know, with just the logistical planning of training and assets, which they're not doing a good job.
Yeah. This happened before with the Army back in the mid 90s. They had the drawdown, offered the early retirements. Guys took it. And then when they needed guys back, they said, you can come back, but you got to pay back all that money that you got to get out early. And all
that. How many takers? How many takers did they have?
No.
It's like y'all were saying. This has happened several times. This is not their first rodeo. It's like the guy commented earlier. It's maybe somebody just threw that out there as a, you know, the good idea, Ferry. If somebody,
it was a joke. I was just kidding. Oh, now it's don't put my name on this.
We're back where we were in the mid 90s, boys. What's that plan we had? All right, pull that out.
Brian says all of the drawbacks, none of the perks. Clearly, did I already do this one? See,
but it's okay when you hit 41, dude.
When you hit 41, dude. Right. I'm you're lucky I don't just wander out and forget the show is on. Just get up and get lost in my. All right, first bat, best bat. All right.
Yeah.
He reads from the teleprompter. All right, less interesting. Not interesting. Sadder news. So, Hoppajet, I think is what it's called, right? Is that the call sign?
Yeah.
We're gonna listen to the audio here in a second. Thanks, Doug. Don't play it just yet. I want to talk about it. So, there was a business jet that crashed on I-75 near Naples, Florida. And I'm glad, Daniel, this is perfect because you've done a lot of obviously law enforcement rescue operations in your career. And I want you to listen as this goes on. There's a call sign that comes up. I think it's called Shadow 4. And it's interesting that. So we're going to listen to the audio, but the backstory is, I mean, from what we know, obviously there's always going to be an investigation. We're going to wait for that because we're not going to speculate on what happened. But it's a business jet with 2 pilots and I think 3 passengers, and they're coming into land near Naples and dual engine flame out, and they end up landing kind of perpendicular. We're not going to show that video because it's kind of graphic, but they end up kind of trying to align with the interstate and then kind of perpendicular, and they hit the noise barrier, the big wall. And so they hit that head on, which obviously ends up making it fatal for the pilots. But by the grace of God, the passengers got out, which is amazing to me. But Doug, let's play it, and I'll tell you to stop. People have said, hey, don't talk over it. So we'll stop it as we go if necessary. And thanks to Vast Aviation. Yeah, that's where we're getting this to do the breakdown.
Jet 823 is with you on a right downwind for a 5-mile final, runway 23.
Jet 823, roger, make the right.
So here, I mean, they're coming in on a downwind, and they're going to make the 5-mile final to turn back to the airport here. I guess it's more of a base leg. But they're coming in to do at this point, I don't hear any indication. No one's talked about that they know there's a known issue, there's anything going on. It's basically just, business as usual. Continue.
Didn't work. Hang on.
Turn back towards the airport. Leaf 1 departure ahead. Challenger jet. Runway 23, clear to land. Wind 22012, gust 16.
All right, Challenger jet departing. We're turning back towards the airport and clear to land. Runway 23, Jet 823.
Everything sounds normal at this point.
X-ray 574, runway 23, turn right heading 270, clear for takeoff. Traffic 3-mile final. Challenger jet.
X-ray 574. Okay, Challenger, Jet 823, lost both engines, emergency. I'm making an emergency landing.
Service. Got the emergency, clear to land, runway 23.
So you hear him basically let him know, this guy sounds cool as a cucumber. If I didn't know, the outcome, or if I didn't hear it, this guy just sounds like, yeah, we got, we're clear to land. Like, there's not a single ounce of panic or urgency or anything. He's just letting you know, I'm just letting you know what's about to happen. Aviate, navigate, communicate. It's good. And I have a question. You got, Daniel, are you familiar with Naples at all?
No.
Okay. Cause I think this is you hear FlexJet and you hear HoppaJet. It sounds like it's a lot of business jets, right? It's a lot of traffic of, these small business jet kind of thing. All right. Continue, Doug.
Is that HoppaJet 823?
We're clear to land, but we're not going to make the runway. We've lost both engines.
Sounds cool as a cucumber.
Wow. Wow.
I mean, just
Drop Jet 574 to hold short.
good.
Tower Shadow 5, we're dead.
Stop.
Shadow 5, there are 2 northwest right over.
You got to be.
Yeah,
So a couple things we notice here. FlexJet has the situational awareness. Gonky, you've talked about that, about listening up and having the situational awareness to know, hey, there's something going on. I'm not going to take the runway because this is an emergency in progress. Even though there's no mayday or declared emergency, everybody knows that things are going bad. But Shadow 5, this is the first call. Dude, that's pretty clutch. Immediately you hear him key up and go, hey, where's he at? Because he knows he's about to go to work. Daniel, can you talk to that a little bit? I mean, is that, you know who Shadow? I think that's the sheriff rescue.
Yeah. I saw one video where it showed it was the sheriff. It was a Huey.
Okay.
So yeah, they may have been out on a surveillance, is what I'm to say, because I've been in situations like this outside of Houston Intercontinental, where we're flying right off the departure end, doing a surveillance, and I've got to monitor all the radios, the guys on the ground doing the surveillance or doing the warrant or whatever, and then the air traffic control coming up. So that you got to know where everybody's at, because and that's what it sounds like to me, is that he heard it, he's watching it, and yeah. Other than that, the video I saw, he was coming up right on the burning aircraft, and which is what I would have done too. It's like, man, if there's anything we can do to land right there and anything, you know, to help.
So is
those
that what
guys
you're
out.
thinking at this point? As soon as you hear this, you're like, hey, I need to go be the on-scene commander at this point?
Yeah, definitely. Whatever you can do.
Yeah.
And that was even, you know, with law enforcement and all. It's, yeah, whatever you can do. It's a fellow aviator, you know.
Yeah. No, that's pretty clutch. Go ahead and keep playing, Doug.
For I-75, hop at that 823.
He doesn't know. I mean, what do you even
Everybody
say?
stand by. There's an alert 3 in progress. Everybody stand by.
Tower Shadow 5 rescue helicopter request to go to the scene.
Shadow 5, proceed direct as requested. There's at 574, neighbor style, runway 23, turn right heading 270. Clear for takeoff.
Collect at 574. Departure heading is 270, clear for takeoff runway 23.
Dude, I don't know if I
Tower Shadow 1, Foxtrot Charlie, we've been orbiting out here to the east, wait instructions.
That's 71 Foxtrot Charlie, you can continue inbound for midfield left down on the runway 23.
Midfield left down 123, 71 Foxtrot Charlie.
Yeah. All right. Was there any more, Doug? Was there any more audio? No. All right, we can kill that. Thanks, Doug. So honestly, to me, I mean, obviously it sucks. I mean, we lost 2 aviators, and that's terrible. And the fact that they remain calm throughout this is a testament to their professionalism. Like I think you'll, you know, whatever the outcome of the NTSB report, which is going to take a while, but if this is going to happen, I mean, it looked like they actually were about to have a very survivable landing too, if it weren't for the way they, you know, that 90-degree thing. But Daniel, going back to the Shadow 5 thing, because it was just interesting to me. He didn't see it happen because he's like, where is it? But the first thing he's out there doing is like, I'm going to go and help this guy out. Does it, I mean, how does that affect you just as a pilot to know that this happens? Are you just go time? Let's just figure out how we can do this.
Yeah. It's whatever you can do right at that moment. The mission that you were on, that's just gone to the back burner. You're headed right there to do whatever you can, along with, like you said, on-scene commander, and that's letting the tower know that, hey, you know, the smoke's, the aircraft's on the ground on fire, and a location. You know, everybody's gonna be calling on 911 anyway, the location. But it's you know, kudos to those pilots.
Now, are you, I mean, I guess since you've got law enforcement radios on board, especially being a sheriff, I mean, not in your case, but in general. So are you then relaying back to dispatch like, hey, here's what we got, mass casualty event, you know, the I-75 shut down, et cetera?
Yeah.
Are you assessing it?
Yeah, we assess it real quick and just say, look, I'm going to have to get off the radio with you. I'm just telling you what's going on. And then getting back with ATC and having them, on-scene command with just the people that are there.
Yeah.
The radios that we had, like I said, doing a surveillance or warrants, whatever, it was ATC radio, the agent's radio, the camera operator, what he's telling me. And then if I had an observer in the back seat, and he's helping me watch on the ground what he's saying. So everybody's talking at the same time. Yeah, it's so for that Shadow to sit there and, well, I guess everybody on the radio knew somebody just crashed. Everybody got off the radio. And he took charge right there.
Good for him.
Daniel, is it ultimately Highway Patrol in this case that would I guess assume the final on-scene commander, because the airplane crashed off of airport property, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Obviously,
it's
highway.
Yeah, it's whatever the fire department or the highway patrol, sheriff, whoever has jurisdiction of that spot right there. It's I'm not saying treated like a normal car crash, but you treat it like a car crash until NTSB, the FAA, on-scene commander has to take charge of it and secure the crash site for the FAA and the NTSB.
Wow.
Gonky, you're the FlexJet guy or the Cessna in the pattern. Are you going flying?
The FlexJet getting ready to take off. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, if it depends, I guess that if you saw it,
Right.
versus what you heard,
right.
that happened when I first started at the airline. I think there was a crash in Cuba, like a Havana crash. Remember that? It was like a 737 or something, and our airline guys witnessed it, and they said, you know, I can't fly, because watching something like that is, especially as a pilot, it's horrific.
Well, it's going to consume your thoughts and minds, right? So you can't focus on the job at hand, which, could I take off and do the flight? Yes. But the question is, should I? Is 50% of my brain power going to be enough today? But that's not acceptable, right? When you're carrying, children and families and stuff, right? So, and I don't think anybody is, hey, I just saw a couple of guys die in a fiery crash. I'm not fit to fly. No one, no one is going to say, no. So
it's amazing those passengers got out. There's video of the passengers going out right before the thing erupts, which massive fire, right? So a lot of concerns there, but the passengers got out and survived. I think the article said they got out through like the luggage door. Like they crawled out, and like there wasn't a door. There was just a small door that they got out, which I'm not familiar with that aircraft, so I don't know. But
yeah, I was going to say, because the Challenger, the normal door is up near the front, right behind the cockpit for the most part. So yeah, when it shows them running away from the aircraft, it's near the back, but the way the camera was, did they come out of the luggage? I don't know if you can get out of the luggage on that thing. If you can even open it from the inside.
Who knows? It's probably broke apart,
Yeah, I think you can. But I remember reading something about they got through a luggage door, so a small compartment door. But good on them.
I mean, during combat ops, it's different. But during training and peacetime, we had a couple guys get killed in an accident in my squadron, and that it's pretty normal to do like a safety stand down, just because everybody across the board, right? Even the maintainers, they're scratching their heads. Did I do something? Did I, the plane captain, or the crew chief that sent the airplane off. I mean, there's just all kinds of Swiss cheese that can line up if you don't just pause for a minute.
Not to lay blame on the FlexJet guys. I'm not saying
no.
I'm just saying put yourself.
They may not
in
have
there.
seen it.
Right. I put myself in those shoes, just like the Cessna guy that's been orbiting, and he probably saw the whole thing. That Cessna guy probably witnessed it. Because I don't think Shadow 4 or 5 or whoever, I don't think the rescue guys saw it because they had to get vectored to it. But it's likely a Cessna that's orbiting probably saw it. And they came up and said, hey, we're alert 3 or whatever, so we've got rescue operations going on. So everybody knows something bad is just happened.
Yeah. And in a transport category airplane, unless it's right in front of you, the view's not that good. Like, obviously past the 3-9 line. So I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have to wait for the report. Dual engine flame out is so rare. I mean, especially with fuel.
Unbelievably rare. Yeah. Sullenberger, that's the only other dual engine of a transport category aircraft. Man, that just
Yeah.
I mean, clearly there were no indications, because I mean they were probably at their normal altitudes, right? I mean, if you're like, man, we might flame both of these out, you're probably going to hang on to some altitude, for glide and whatnot. But these guys were just,
and they were probably already configured.
Yeah.
So you already have all that drag. You got what you got. You're almost like Daniel. It's almost like a helicopter. You're in an auto rotation at that point. It's
right there.
Yeah. You're picking a spot, and dude, it's just terrible. All right. Let's, don't want to belabor that one too much. Very sad. We're sorry for the loss of the pilots, because that's just terrible. JP says, even guys, mover, happy
JP,
birthday
thanks.
to you in a few days. Nice lunar ride. Boy, the drama on that thing, man. I don't want to talk about it.
Try to do a good thing.
I don't want to talk about it. I just don't want to talk about it. I've spent like 10 hours cleaning that thing. People are disgusting. Like, they're disgusting. Did you get a take-home unit, Daniel? Did they give you a car in the law enforcement world?
I did. Yeah, they gave us a Tahoe for about a year, and same thing. It's like that thing was more of a hassle than it was worth.
Did you at least keep it clean for your own personal pride and satisfaction?
Yeah. One guy, he had the bloody fire extinguisher, a powdered fire extinguisher go off on the inside of it, and he never cleaned it.
Yeah. People have no sense of pride. Why?
Now it's fire prevention.
Right. An ounce of prevention. Big G says, Mover, you've flown aggressors, as far as I know. Any cool stories from that area? Any liaisons with red hats that you can talk about, perhaps? Thank you for the show as usual. Keep it up. It's needed. Cool stories. And Gonky, you were with me on this one. When I got my raptor kill and pissed the guy off because I shouldn't have done that. You were leading that. We had the raptor, and basically it was a raptor.
ACM, right?
Yeah, it was like his. I shouldn't have done it, but I just happened to be in the right place at the right time and killed a raptor IP. And
an IP.
Was that the one that
with a T-38?
With a T-38. That was with the L-39 guys. Remember,
I got yelled at for that one.
Yeah, we got in trouble for that one. And I killed him. But because the L-59, they're like, we're going to fly up here at, 40,000 feet. And you're like, dude, you can't. He's at like Mach 0.69. And we're like, dude, you have to, like, the presentation just got all dorked up. And, well, I got my raptor kill. But
you know what? It's that flex in the presentation that the infallible raptor could not handle that day.
Yeah.
Which is funny.
my itty bitty T-38.
It's all right. Hey man, it kills the kill.
That's right. It's even better when it's an IP.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And he was giving a mission check.
He was getting his mission check.
Or he's getting his mission
check. That's
check.
why it was kind of a foul for me, because he was getting his mission check. And
I remember that. Gosh, good times.
Yeah.
Good times.
Maybe that's why nobody will hire me. Kate Little Wolf says, happy birthday, Mover. Thank you. Appreciate that. DG says, Mover Gonky, you should consider the VRS program after retirement to fly again. 1,000 slots can only be 10 years out. Did we not just, he must be a late joiner. Because we just talked about how.
DG, are you a recruiter?
Yeah. It's like, are you the guy that made this PowerPoint?
I've heard this. I've heard this sales pitch before, man.
Gonky's like, thank you for the comment. But
yes, thank you, sir.
We can't. They don't want us. Winnie says, random thing. I saw a B-2 taking off out of Norfolk, Virginia. Wow. Any idea why a B-2 would be over here? Nonetheless, it was pretty awesome to see one in person. Where are your troops? And may I go there and count them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't.
Maybe a problem with the airplane, like
Norfolk. Said. I mean, Norfolk being next to Langley, it was probably at Langley.
Airship,
probably
right. Static display.
No, it's probably out of Langley.
Probably,
yeah.
Could have been working with the Langley
dudes. Yeah.
We've just been there having a good time.
And I didn't think those guys went anywhere other than Guam.
Knob Noster, yeah. Knob Noster, they're in Missouri. Isn't that where they're based out of?
Yeah. I honestly don't know. I don't know, which is why no one should ever interrogate me, because I know nothing.
Me too. Yeah, literally.
Jamie says, here's A299. Gonky.
Thanks, Jamie.
Justin says, Mr. Flores, on your sweater, are you Ranger tabbed? If so, how much does it improve your chances on a WAFT application board? Boy, a lot of.
What's a WAFT
shirt?
Warrant Officer Flight Training. No, I'm not Ranger tabbed. I was, remember, I started my original career in the military as infantry, 11 Bravo, and long range recon. And with that, we were attached to 3rd BAT for about 2 years. And then, but no, would the Ranger tab, being Ranger tabbed, help you in WAF? Yes, it would. It would, it shows them that you've had the fortitude, intelligence, and drive to succeed in getting your Ranger tab. So yeah, that's definitely a big plus.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there you go. See, we've learned things today. Casmo's the same way. He drove tanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's relatively common. I mean, one of the captains I've flown with here, he was an infantry guy, and he literally told me he saw a helicopter sitting there on the base, and it said Army on it, and he was like, wait a minute. We have helicopters.
Army training, sir.
So, yeah, he went from infantry to flying.
Honestly, my first love before jets was Firebirds, Airwolf, and Firebirds.
Yeah.
Nick
Airwolf,
Cage.
okay.
Nick Cage. He
Yeah,
just he
Nick
sold
Cage.
it 100%.
Yeah.
He did.
Nick
And Tommy
Cage.
Lee Jones.
And whatever the girl's name was.
Yep. Yeah. And pantyhose and the snorkel.
No, just
and a
panty,
Jeep.
no hose, just panty.
Panty, sorry.
It's apparently my birthday.
I was in flight school when that movie came out. Tommy Lee Jones showed up at Fort Rucker, Alabama. I was in Alpha Company in Warrant Officer Flight School. And the training officers came up to us and said, like, all right, the movie's premiering tonight here on base. Who wants to go? And so everybody raised their hands. They said, okay, if you're going to go, you got to get your Class A's. And it costs you like $2 for the theater to get in. And as soon as they said we got to get an inspection in our Class A's before we go, we're like, no, we're not.
Nobody showed up.
And so, yeah, so then they said, all right, everybody's going now. And if you don't have the $2, your buddy's going to pay. We went standing room only. And like I said, the movie started off like, wow, this looks really good. Well, actually, it started off with Tommy Lee Jones saying a little something at the beginning, and the base general saying something also. And then, the first opening scenes with the Apaches, coming out and all that. I thought, wow, this looks pretty good. And it went downhill real fast.
No, I disagree. I completely listen.
That movie's great.
For a kid, it just kept getting better.
That movie's great for a kid.
Oh man, I love it.
Yeah.
I literally. I was
if you don't know,
left eye dominant. I was like, do I have the same problem?
Do I have to drive a Jeep?
Right.
With panties on my head? I still don't really understand what happened there, but
he had an eye dominance problem, dude. What don't you understand?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, yeah, that thing too. Yeah.
I just never want to be in the bag. And I didn't realize how bad that was until I flew the T-38. And I'm like, you know what? He's right. Instruments suck.
Yeah. Now the bag and the Apache, yeah, that absolutely. That was an eye opener, so to speak. It was that separated the men from the boys. That sucked. But everyone made it through. So, but yeah, Firebirds. Oof.
Tom P says, was Spudknocker in the L-39? Gonky,
no.
Spudknocker is a DCS content creator.
Oh, no.
From back in the day. And then Kelly says, happy early birthday, mover. Hope it's a drama-free day. All of your wishes come true. First of all, there's no such thing as a drama-free day in this world, and none of my wishes come true. So
yeah, I dropped a bunch of drama on him this morning, Kelly.
Oh my God, dude. Seriously.
Covered.
Seriously, I thought I had it all figured out. I had my life. I was like, here's what I'm going to do. And then Gonky's like, well, there's this whole thing that I'm still mad about I'm like, oh God, Gonky, come on, man. Why are you just peeing in my Cheerios now?
We are mad about.
We're mad about different reasons. The same I am the greatest. Let's get back to the thing. Gonky.
Yeah.
This is yours. Marine ace.
Is it really a Marine ace? Yeah. You got it up here. I'll just kind of summarize it. So the USS Baton, which is a large ship, 850-ish foot long amphibious assault ship. It's kind of what the Marines use to carry the helicopters and the Harriers. And this article came out by the BBC, and they talked to a captain here, Earl Earhart, I believe is how you pronounce it. He's a Marine Corps Harrier pilot. And up until this point, all the articles I've read is basically, Super Hornets taking down drones and some Israeli F-35s. But I guess this guy has shot down 7 Houthi drones in the Harrier, which is pretty amazing. We've kind of talked about it before. The Super Hornet has a very advanced radar. I'm pretty sure the Harrier still has the old mech radar, which is capable.
The 65, yeah, the APG 65, which Daniel, you've got some experience with, right? Wasn't that what they threw in the citation?
66, APG
66. Okay, yeah.
For Border Patrol.
Yeah, for CBP, Customs.
Yeah, so reading through the article, it says they basically modified a Harrier for basically air defense, but that kind of caught me a little off guard because the Harrier does have an air-to-air capability. It's, it's the Marine jump jet, right? They want a fast jet that can get in closer with the troops, right? So the idea is this thing can operate in and out of, non-runway type areas. Primarily, like I said, air to ground, but it does have air-to-air capability as well. So I don't know what mods they would have done to make it be able to shoot down these drones. And he talks about the risks associated with it. And we haven't mentioned it before. I haven't really thought about it, but as far as the size of the warheads on these things, I guess he's getting close enough, like when you shoot them, when they explode, that there's potential damage. So BBC is the only article I could find on Marines and Harriers shooting down drones. I couldn't find any other take on it, but I think that's outstanding. I mean, the guy, right? You kill 5, you're an ace. If we're counting, drone kills, what do you think, Mover?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. We're in weird. Okay, so what's the criteria? What's the criteria? Well, what's the criteria for an ace?
5 kills.
Air to air.
But do you have to kill somebody, or is it just something?
I think it's a man. It's like man. It's a man versus man competition in my mind. Your machine, you and your machine against him or her and her machine.
Right. So 7 unmanned.
I don't disagree.
Or woman. Either or. We don't judge. Unpersoned aerial vehicle. Is that a kill for the purposes of, like, does this captain now get the missing man formation when he dies?
Well, so in the article, it doesn't refer him to an ace, but my
Twitter does.
My social media consultant
Twitter
Mover says Twitter
has decided.
Twitter has decided he's an ace. But I mean, beyond, we're kind of poking fun at him being an ace. I mean, good on him.
As we should.
Flying around in a Harrier with an ABG-65, hunting down these things.
To lock one of those things up with that radar is impressive.
Right. I mean, I don't know, like, what tactics they've flexed to. I don't know what kind of tipper he's getting. But I mean, is he putting a thing in a hover? I don't know how fast are these drones going, right? Because for a fast jet,
can you put it in a hover can you even do that?
I'm pretty sure they did it in True Lies. Saw it in True Lies.
Yeah. So True Lies, obviously that documentary. But he shot an AIM-9.
He did from a hover, but
with
I guess my point is, it's pretty amazing for that airplane with that radar shoot down 7 of them. And then I always come full circle back to my point of, the 12, 13, 40, 50, 20th one is going to get through, man, and blow a hole in the side of your ship, right? That's what we're all worried about. But yeah, I guess these Marines are doing good work out there. It just talked about this one.
The one guy. The one guy's got 7. How many do the others have?
Right, exactly. And I looked up his squadron. Was it VMA 241, I think? And I don't know I'm old, so I was like, maybe I know the front office types, but I'm older than them.
I know the boat skipper.
So I need to move up the chain now.
I know everybody. Yeah.
But like you said, Mover, there's probably a whole squadron of capable Marine Hornet pilot or Harrier pilots out there, and who knows what the actual tally is. If this guy, if the report's true, he's got seven kills. That's pretty amazing, and it's also telling in the. Not maybe the will, but the just the determination of the Houthis, right? Let's just every day at 8 o'clock, you're getting like 5, or whatever it is.
But that's how it was in Balad. I mean, they would have the mortars on the timers and launch them out, and they'd haul ass. They wouldn't hang around.
Yeah.
And you figure also with the Harrier, don't they have a lantern pod or some type of FLIR that they get bogey dope from the Aegis cruiser, and then with that using the radar and then the FLIR to find them. And I say this because we were with our radar in the citation in southern Arizona. We had a rash of ultralights coming across the border with dope. And yeah, we had to, you have to bring the notch down on the radar down to even find those things. And even that, most of those were self kills. Those guys would either hit power lines.
Count it. Count it.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Are
you Daniel? Are you an ace? Are we talking to an?
Yeah. Do you get a missing man formation?
Yeah. And several things, because we'd get bogey dope from the radar, our controller. They said, yeah, we've got one of those two things, either bogey dope or we'd get a border patrol agent say like, hey, call on the radio saying, I just had an ultralight fly over me at night. He'd give us a location. We'd fly on down there, start looking for him with the FLIR and the radar. And then once we find them, all right, that's all we could do was pretty much follow them until they most of the time they crashed because they either ran out of fuel or they out of center of gravity. They'd burn enough fuel and they'd just get out of CG and they would just fly up, or they would try to do a maneuver of some sort, and the thing was already overgross, so they would fold the wings and hit the ground. Power lines. One guy actually fell out of. He was almost. Good God! It was like 10,000 feet. He was up.
Oh my God!
Yeah, and he ended up. He folded the wings up that altitude, and
wow.
Yeah, it was just.
Yeah, I think probably. I mean, just hearing that, brings up a good point. Probably helps these Marines out that this is over water, because over land with that older radar and a small, slow moving target, I mean, it's exponentially more challenging. But over water, probably get a decent picture. But
same
again,
with the FLIR. If you don't have the heating, the daytime heating and all that, that's a good point.
And what size, what size are these drones? Are they the same as our, Predators? Obviously knockoffs from China, but if they're the same size as that, that's a standard Lycoming, IO 320 or something. So that puts out a decent heat signature. And do we have surveillance on the spots where they're launching them from? You got some, Army Special Forces on the back there saying like, oh, here goes another one. And they call it in and say, yeah, be looking here at this time. They'll be hitting the beach at this time, and there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. It's scary times. Exciting
but you're
times,
right.
I guess. But,
you're right, Gonka, that man, if they just throw a whole slew of them, how many can they stop before one gets through?
Right. And it's nothing is certain, right? It's almost a mathematical certainty at some point. One's going to get through. Last week, Mover and I talked about the phalanx. Was the was the one that saved the ship. And I mean, you're talking inside of a mile there. That's no bueno.
It was metric, so we didn't understand how far it was, to be honest with you.
20 Mike, man. It ain't gonna be 10 miles.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Spartan says the most unrealistic part of Firebirds is that many Apaches up at once. But that's when they were new.
That's right.
Yeah, they were brand new.
Don't ruin it for me.
John says, hey, Mover, if you loved Hilo so much, how come you did not fly helicopters? I did.
He does fly helicopters.
If you mean originally, it was because, I don't know, I'm going to fly jets when I was 20. Yeah, I don't know. We didn't have like a guard unit locally. Like there was nothing in New Orleans where it's like, hey, you can go fly Apaches here. Although at one point I did look up at the warrant officer flight training thing. I remember that in high school, looking at it going, janitor's back. Something with super chats. Hopefully that got fixed because I mean, we see it. Zipper says USAF counts unmanned the same as manned by policy.
Really?
So he is an ace.
Well, do the Marines count it?
Probably not. They probably punched him in the face and said, get a
probably.
Yeah, you got weekend duty.
Yeah. Only
good job wasting
drones.
Yeah. Why'd you waste all these rounds coming out of your paycheck? John says, Mover, today is my birthday, and I just want to thank you and Gonky for what you do, from an Air Force security police veteran. Happy birthday and cool truck.
Birthday, man. Heck yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Jordan says Harrier going 200 knots versus a drone going 25. That's some skill regardless of the radar. Let's have a target, on top of it before you have a lock. Yeah, I mean, that's the whole problem we have with helicopters.
Oh, what if it's at night too? I mean, it's
all
right.
Zippers Forever says it shall always be Customs Aviation. Retired AIO, SA, SSA here. It's good to see you, Daniel. What do all those acronyms mean from left to right, Daniel?
Air Interdiction Officer, Special Agent, Senior Special Agent.
Oh, hell yeah.
Nice. I'm just going to hit the I believe button. Could have totally made that up. I believe
my assigned FBI agent that listens to all my phone calls. Because that's cool that he's interacting with me, We're on a no. Okay. Too soon. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, it's great. Jordan says, "Hey, if the Raptors can count balloons, be nice and let the Harrier guys have the win."
Did they
Gonky's the one bullying him, not me.
I'm not bullying him. I'm just my social media person mover told me that Twitter is counting it, so we have to talk about it.
Well, Daniel, what is the figurine over your right shoulder? That's you.
Yeah, that was.
You have your own action figure.
Oh, my
that's awesome.
Family, my dad actually, they had it done for me when I got back. There's a little place there outside of Fort Benning that did it was called, oh man, I forgot what it was called, but they made figurines of whoever. So if somebody was graduating, say from Ranger School or whatever, they would make a figurine looking just like the person and all that. That one actually has the body armor, the M4, the Stetson.
I like it.
And the one-piece desert flight suit that we wore in Afghanistan. So just
that is
gotta
awesome.
keep it away from the dogs. They'll chew it up.
Luna hauls it off. Marine Ace, well, they can take down UFOs while drunk. Saw it on Independence Day. It's a documentary.
That's right.
And again, they punched it in the face. Zippers, I was at AMOC when they started that. These are all words I don't know. Doing raw radar sorts. Hammer out.
Yeah. Air and Marine Operations Center. Aviation. Yeah. That's the control center. That's oh man, no, I already forgot. That's the our controller. When that started being a thing. Doing raw radar sorts. Yeah. Hammer. That was the call sign, was Hammer.
Hammer time.
So like when we were down in Colombia in South America and all, we'd be talking to Hammer.
Hammer time.
Yeah.
Hammer time picture. Bob says, Ace for drones, only fair to give it to door gunners too. Give us rotor heads some love. Yeah.
That's funny.
Easy. You just don't lead them as much.
You could take down
actually at the Super Bowl here in Houston in 2016-ish, I guess it was, part of the brief for that I was at U.S. Customs. What were we going to do if a drone was spotted 5 miles away, headed towards the NRG? They'd be talking to everybody in there, all law enforcement, including us, including the Air National Guard, the F-16s out of Ellington. So they tell the ground guys, okay, what are you going to do? Well, we'll report it. And they say, okay, now it's 2 miles away from the stadium. What are you going to do when, customs? I was like, well, we're going to try to find it, because now we're talking, a drone amongst, and they said, just above the treetops, headed toward the stadium. I'd say, yeah, we try to find it. And if so, we've got a door gunner that would try to shoot it out. But we're going to have pretty much a lot of reservations on doing that, because, firing a shotgun from the air into the ground or towards the ground. And they'll say, okay, Customs, you're out. Vipers, you're in. And now they're on an outer ring. I shouldn't say that. They were on the outer ring. And so by this time they're saying, okay, he's made it past Customs. He's now headed up to the stadium. What are you going to do? And he says, like, I'll be damned if I'm going to do kinetic on a drone down there in the city, with 20 or anything and all. He said, don't even bother calling me.
As we've learned, the missile may or may not even hit against the SpongeBob. Can't imagine against a drone.
That's wild.
Would an all-female crew qualified as unmanned? You can't ask that in 2024.
We'll get in trouble.
Talk about that. We're not. All right. So, hey, talking about trophies, Douglas.
Just hit.
It's our. I got to hit the button.
Yeah, my button isn't working. I was about to let you know.
So scroll up a little bit. I'm going to summarize this. Basically, right there. F-16 pilot earned a trophy for saving a jet with a smooth belly landing. He was at Aviano, March 2nd, 2022. It was almost disastrous. Major Brady Augustin. He took off and rose to 10,000 feet so he could better assess the situation. He felt it settle to the left. After contacting ground support, he believed he had a blown tire, prepared to land using the runway's arresting system. But as he prepared for landing, he made a startling discovery. The left main wheel was still on the runway. So he did a low pass. Scroll down, please, sir. Keep going. So he did a low pass to verify, and they decided to go ahead and try it. Is that the video, Doug? Can we play that real quick?
Yep. Can't enlarge this one, though. It's
Four
embedded.
fans of freedom right there.
It's a sign mover.
So obviously he's landing all gear up because that's the safest way to do it because of the when you got one, you'll veer off to the side. So just doing it all gear up. The age of videoing. Scroll down. It says he managed to land with a combat load.
Oh, really?
Which I don't really say it. So he had the ECM pod and other equipment. So I don't know about combat load because if there was actually anything combat related, they'd have just jettisoned it.
Yeah.
So it's mostly just the tanks and stuff, which will help you out. Actually, more stuff on the ground as long as it doesn't get too lopsided or whatever. So he had the ECM pod and other equipment, which again, fuel tanks, stuff like that, because that actually does help you. So he got the award, and he was calm, cool, and collected, and he got the Colligan trophy. Colligan trophy. And scroll down, we'll see the picture of the dude. There you go. Captain Kirk and Major Brady. I'm sorry, does that... That's for Captain Picard. Sorry, wrong Star Trek guy.
Wrong with Picard.
Yeah. Captain Picard of the Enterprise gave him... This is
wow.
The fly fighters again, Gonky.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
It's
like mover.
Yeah, his aide de camp is like, "Oh God, alert the general, cancel him immediately."
Hey, so I got a question.
Yeah.
So would he still put the hook down? Because the F-16 has a hook for right for emergency landings.
You do, but I'd have to look at the checklist. But I'm pretty sure when you're doing all gear up, you don't.
Okay.
Because of the way the hook sits, it wouldn't.
I'd just be worried about going off road and with the big old intake down there and rolling. Essentially, you don't want to roll that
long runway like that. I mean, I would say, long runway. It's an emergency. Dude, you're doing that. There's a high pucker factor.
Oh yeah.
Your seat cushion is in your esophagus because you're probably one hand on the ejection handle and stuff, but dude had a great landing. I mean,
yeah, he did.
That was smooth as hell, and that jet probably will be flyable again. It's gonna live to fight again. So I don't know, Daniel, what do you think, man? Got any thoughts on this?
No, a little bit of spray paint and it's good to go. Some Bondo. That was excellent.
Such an Army answer. We'll fix it, sir.
Put some West Virginia chrome on that bad boy and send her back up.
That's right. 100 mile an hour.
We asked the Ukrainians; they're not interested.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't want it.
Hey, Zelensky, we got one jet for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, moving on to breaking news. Doug, can you go to that second article? Not the first one, because the second one's is that it? Is that the one you have? Not the Politico one, the other one.
Mover, is this reserve or is this Air Force?
It's Air Force and Space Force. So the Air Force and Space Force have announced sweeping changes to maintain superiority amid the great power competition. Obviously, that's for our global thing. So there were 24 key decisions to address the current force and our ability to stay competitive. We need these changes now. It's a mix of near-term and short-term or long-term things, and they've been kind of teasing this for a while. And we thought for a minute that our jobs were going to go away, because why wouldn't it? But apparently, for now, we're safe. And they're looking at developing people, generating readiness, projecting power, and develop integrated capabilities. And those include developing people. So they're going to change force development functions. There's a lot of words here, Gonky.
Yeah.
I don't understand any of them. Technical tracks for officers and create technical tracks for enlisted. That tells me maybe, because there was another article that talked about the warrant officer program, bringing that back to the Air Force. Maybe a fly only track comes back to where, promotion is based off of your flying and not on your master's degree or professional military education. But they want to change and transform how the Air Force Academy does business, Officer Training School does business, ROTC. So it's from the ground up. Then when they talk about generate readiness, Air Combat Command took the highlight. And so basically what they're saying is you've got major commands, right? You've got Air Education and Training Command, Air Combat Command, Global Strike, all these commands. And so now they're saying we're going to combine them all, and we're going to have like composite squadrons with bombers and fighters, and we're going to put them together and then deploy them as a package. And then they're talking about large-scale exercises with more focused on activities. Then they talk about we're going to have limited no-notice operational readiness assessments and inspections, which we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's just get over the highlights, because that's one of the things I want to talk about. Restructure key processes related to the weapon systems and data and how they kind of work on things. And then they're like, okay, we're going to project power and units of action, deployable combat wings, in-place combat wings, combat generation wings, basically getting airmen to the battlefield in a more efficient manner and a better way to get them from, home station out, so that it's all one combined thing. And then they're going to develop capabilities. Scroll down, Doug, if you would, sir. Or not. Lost our mouse there. Too much scrolling. So they're going to strengthen the support to nuclear forces, and then Air Force material. I can't read while it's moving. Establish an integrated development center and create Space Futures Command and validate the concepts and all that stuff. There's a whole litany of things, but some of it sounds okay. A lot of it just sounds like gibberish that I don't understand. But then they're talking about more inspections. And correct me if I'm wrong. I know staff guys will look at me and be like, hey, it's the stupidest thing. You're not qualified to be in charge because you don't. I think inspections are a waste of time. I do. I think if you prepare for the mission, you are ready. And when you worry about inspections, that you worry about inspections. You spend all this time making things green and checking spreadsheets and doing all that stuff, versus if you are combat ready, you are focused on being combat ready. I mean, I see the need in some cases, but I just no notice and all that stuff. I get it, because then you're like, okay, hey, look, if you're always ready, and maybe that's what this shift is. Maybe the shift is more towards our inspections are geared more toward, are you ready to go to war versus is your spreadsheet green? Gonky?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of words there, and I just basically sped read as much as I could. But you bring up a good point. I mean, is the Air Force, our commands going to just be focused on passing inspections, or are they going to focus on what the mission is, which is air dominance, in my opinion, right? So if you're talking tech air, one of the beefs I have with the Air Force vice the Navy is every year they do, right, a mission check, right, which is basically an inspection for a pilot. And to me, what a colossal waste of time and resources. I mean, they would, for one guy, they would put up, I don't know, 15 airplanes, 20 airplanes. And it's, in my mind, in the Navy, you got your mission qual, and then you were just expected to do your job every day, right, which was leading flights, leading missions. If there was ever a problem that, manifested itself, your command would address it. But I kind of see this going down the same path. And then I think you said there's like going to be no notice like, you know, surprise, we're here. Can we see all your, you know, all your, not, that is morale crushing in my opinion. And it's also, every commander now is going to be like, okay, I don't want to lose my job. We have to be prepared to pass this inspection at all times.
Yeah.
Which is, the green boxes are going to drive the focus of the squadron, which is going to drive the focus of the overall organization, United States Air Force, which that should not be the focus of the United States Air Force. Just my opinion as a nobody going nowhere.
Daniel, what do you think, man? You're the retiree. You can drop the hammer on this, although this is Air Force, so you probably already knew things.
Well, the Army has the
Army
did the same thing. Yeah, the Army, the way they, yeah, we were always training for the next inspection as opposed to training for combat for years. Then we had a commander come in that did exactly what Gonky was saying. He just, we didn't know this as the pilots. He was sending up all his sheets, all his reports, saying that we were doing all this training and all this stuff on every drill weekend and several times a week during the month and all that. We didn't know any of this until the hammer came down. And yeah, the big guy came down with the news. He had already done his investigating in the background. He said, okay, so he's showing me that he's telling us that he's doing all this training and all this sort of stuff and all. He went over to the logistics side and said, like, give me all the receipts for the fuel that they've used, all the times that they checked out all the fuel trucks, the maintenance, all this sort of stuff. Because if we were doing that much flying and that much training, we'd be burning through fuel and parts like crazy. And they weren't there. So that's how he found out that somebody was cooking the books and all. So yeah, having an inspection, a no notice. Yeah. But you know, that was one commander, and I don't know if it's happened to other people or not. So
Gonky, what I liked about the Navy, and I think every service, and the Navy's kind of shying away from this now, but in general, right? You are an officer. I'm going to treat you like an officer until you give me a reason to treat you otherwise. You are a skipper or a commander. I'm going to treat you like a commander. You are God in that squadron. You know, 100%. The buck stops there. So to me, what would have been a whole lot cooler, again, user my own and not the DOD, is if Big Air Force had come out and said, we are going to put people first and the mission will always be a priority. But we're going to put people first. And by that, we're going to put competent people in charge who take care of their people. And if you take care of your people, the mission will take care of itself. As soon as you start shying away from that and you start, well, we've got to get this spreadsheet, because spreadsheets are for staff nerds. They are not for operators. Operators care about getting bombs on target on time, getting people where they need to, dropping the troops out the back, whatever your mission is, that's what the operator cares about. And, you know, the enemy does not care if every box was green, if your bombs hit 30 seconds late and your mission was a failure. I mean, they just don't care, and it doesn't matter. And that's not how wars are won or fought, but I don't know.
Yeah. And there's one other important piece. There has to be power given back to like the senior enlisted, the captains, the majors. Like everything can't be a paper trail to the very top, and then the top figures out what happens, and then it trundles downhill. I mean, the whole idea of you know, deal with it at the lowest level needs to come back. You know, if there's a problem, I mean, even 10, 15 years ago when I was in the Navy, like you'd read about a skipper getting relieved, and it's because, you know, a 20-year-old seaman did something that he or she shouldn't have been doing, and it was command climate. Well, that's such a broad, you know, reason. I mean, that covers all kinds of stuff. So, you know, the joke was like, well, I never want to be a skipper. I don't want to be on the front page of Navy Times, you know, because it's so easy to pass the buck, right? And if there's no you know, the way that stuff used to get handled. I always like my one of my good friends, Big John. He passed away of cancer, but when he was like a petty officer, second class, they were at a bar in the Philippines, and him and his division officer, who was a pilot, got in an argument, and he just decked him, laid him out, just flat. You know, today's military, he'd be in jail and then booted out. But you know what? He ended up being a warrant officer in the Navy, served 33 years, and was probably one of the best warrant officers I ever worked for. You know, and it's like, he was handled at the lowest level, you know. And that's why he was able to continue his career. Because back then, that was in the 80s, they handled things at the lowest level. And that, even in the Navy, that has started to go away, which is very sad. In the Air Force, that doesn't seem to happen. Just my perception.
Yeah. So there's a couple things to add to that. One, it's not just the inspections, you know, it's all the other stuff they talked about too, or the restructuring and stuff. It's a word salad. Like they could have at least come out and put this in the Queen's English and been like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to, you know, it's when we just finished talking about retention, right? What is the trigger puller that is like, okay, airlines, or am I going to stay here in this? And you're like, well, they have just proven to me that their focus is still on appeasing the staff nerds. Like we have created a culture of numbers and data sets, and that's great to an extent. But what happens when you're a leader that was promoted by data, that does data? You don't care about people anymore. Gonky, you and I have talked about this. The greatest skipper and the greatest leaders we've ever known were the ones that said, I do not care if I get fired. I'm going to do the right thing. 100%. You could fire me tomorrow. And as long as I can sleep at night knowing that I did right by people to help them, it's fine. Because the ones that are like, oh, I don't know, you know, I can't risk it because I'm going to get that star, or I'm going to get the 06. We have to have the numbers green so it looks good to the Bobs. Dude, that's not Robin Olds. You know, that's not Doolittle. That's not our heritage. Our heritage is filled with people who took risks and took care of people, and yet we keep reverting to this accountant like mindset.
Daniel, that commander you had that cooked the books, he probably wasn't your best commander ever, was he? No,
and he was only there for maybe 9 months. Took him 9 months too. But yeah, he was fine.
Yeah, that's my case in point. I mean, Mover, you hit the nail on the head, man. I mean, the guys, I've been very, like, I've had a lot of good skippers, but I mean, like there's the good ones, you would go anywhere with them.
Oh yeah, they motivate you.
My example.
Exactly. They motivate 100%. You to do the right thing. They do not threaten you. It's the carrot versus stick. I want to work for somebody that removes obstacles and makes things easier for me to do the job, not that threatens me if I don't get this one little square checked by the end of the week, that I'm going to get a letter of reprimand. Nobody wants that. People do not respond to that, especially now. In the world we live in now, where everybody's got options, it's a volunteer force. Your threats are idle because they'll just leave. Yeah, they vote with their participation. Well, that's another story. All right, let's catch up on the chats real quick so we can move on. Zippers Forever says, Dan and I have actually met in Tucson. I don't think we ever flew together, SD and RAL unit, until I went to investigations, finished at the AMOC. Oh, there you go.
Look at that.
He's pretty famous.
Look at that, man.
Guy with a dog.
You better tighten it up, man. He's your
FBI agent too. Just popped in while on lunch. I see Gonky is on another bullying spree. Standard.
Come on.
Gonky bullies me all day. Yolkin says F-16 pilot wins award. Is Mover congratulating himself beating Gonky?
Yeah.
Make it so from Crazy Pete. BJ says super sticker. Thank you, BJ.
Thanks, BJ.
Gonky. Jamie Reed says, hi guys. Always wanted to fly fighters going up next to the Tornado GR4s, but being in a wheelchair means DCS is as close as I can get to flying jets. Just like Wags. Keep doing what you're doing, boy. And people have asked about the Wags thing. It's in work.
Still in the works. Yeah.
Yeah. They're still working on it. It's not there. Mark says an inspection ready unit has never been combat ready, and no combat unit has ever been inspection ready.
Dang.
Yeah.
Save that one. Save
it for your memoir, Gonky.
Save it for,
how you lead people
for the court martial.
Yeah. MJ says, great work by the Management Consultancy Battalion. Only criticism is that they wasted an opportunity to embed more acronyms. Still, they can always form a working group to investigate that.
That's awesome.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Like I hear the words that I'm saying, and it's like, am I the one that's lost it, or because I don't buy into it, right? Is it me or is it them?
We've said this before, man. It's a really weird time. But as Daniel is pointing out, apparently some of this weirdness is baked in from the past. But I just think it's so odd. It's backwards thinking to me. I don't know.
Until you get a shooting war where you need the leaders of men, right?
Yeah.
When the bullets start flying, all this goes out the window. This is peacetime nonsense. This is in garrison.
Well, it has to be a shooting war where your way of life is in jeopardy, because
that's what I'm saying.
We've had plenty of shooting wars since the 50s where it's,
oh boy, here we go. To me, Bob says, it's all about what are you inspecting and who is inspecting. If it's paperwork and the starch in my skivvies fail, spreadsheets equal spread cheeks. And then Blue Rex gave Gonky $5 because $5 is $5. All right, moving on to something sad. CH-53, we lost 5 Marines. We talked about that. I'll do that. So the big takeaways here, obviously we know that, they're an AIB or what's the Navy version? I forget already. Accident board.
Hit me too fast.
So there'll be a safety board and an accident board. Scroll down, Gonky. So they were going from Creech down to sorry, Doug. It was a nighttime mission going to the Pine Valley, California, is where they found it, and it was headed to Miramar. There you go. Yeah. And it sounds like it was nighttime. It was snowing in the region at the time. Very, very bad weather conditions ish, and they were found. It was a whole thing about they couldn't find them. They found the wreckage at first, which is obviously they found it from the air, and then once they got the ground team there. But I wanted to talk about it a little bit with you, Daniel. Again, we're not speculating. I'm just, as a helicopter guy, inadvertent IMC is a big thing, even when you have an instrument rating, because it's not as forgiving as a jet that's at 20,000 feet, where you're on autopilot. These guys are probably on NVGs, being that it was at night mission and in bad weather, or at least some areas had bad weather. They found them in a snowy area. Daniel, what do you think, considerations wise, for a sortie like that and a helicopter that big? What are you kind of thinking there?
Why did they have to do it? If the weather was bad, they knew that storm was rolling in on Southern California at that time. Man, postpone everything for a day or two. It's SoCal, it's Nevada. It's always 360 days a year. It's severe clear. That's 1, 2, and you're right. With goggles, you can be deep into IMC before you realize it, especially up in the mountains. Some places not well lit. 3, that's an old airframe. So how much is it really? Is the autopilot, the navigation system, up to speed, so to speak? Like the EC-145 that fly now, it's Spiffer. It's single pilot IFR rated, and it's got the GPS and all that good stuff in it, and all with 2 autopilots and the whole 9 yards. But that's an old aircraft. Does it really have the IFR capability? And then 4, what if they ran into ice? Does it have de-ice? The Apache had it, and the Blackhawks have it, but we never used it. They disabled it early on. Our original Apaches, Alpha models, when we got them, they disabled the anti-ice because 1, we were in Texas, so we didn't need it. 2, it's a maintenance nightmare to keep that stuff up, inspected, keep it going and all that when you don't really use it. So I don't know about a 53. The Echo which is their newest one, I can imagine that all that stuff, was it IFR, IMC capable?
Yeah.
Did it have de-ice and ice? Yeah, there's a lot. And, to sit there and speculate, like you said, we don't know really why it went down.
Yeah, it could be mechanical. I mean, it's just really bad terrain. I mean, nighttime. Now, granted, combat waits for nobody. We have to fly at night because nighttime's when a lot of that. I did see an article, or not an article, but maybe a comment about whether this was more fallout from the grounding of the Osprey, right? Because now that the Osprey's not flying, the 53's picking up the load, so to speak, you still have to move troops. You still have to, the show keeps going, even if you don't have the airplane. So now, you're using this aircraft where you might not have otherwise.
If it only had the minimal crew in there, the 2 pilots and the 3 crew dogs in the back. So obviously they weren't moving people. Now, as for cargo, who knows? But still, wait, it's not combat.
Yeah.
Wait a couple of days. Yeah.
That's
the mission doesn't have to be done. It's not combat. It's here in the United States. No, it is California, but
that path, their flight path, during challenging weather in a helicopter at night, those are some big mountains. 53 is a very powerful helicopter, but we're talking some really, really big mountains. And if you throw, wintry weather conditions in there, and then like you said, Daniel, even if it has some sort of anti-ice capability, I'm sure it's not robust. And then, like you said, it's not wartime. So it'll be interesting. It's sad. It'll just be interesting to see really what happened to those guys. And, for the people trying to, it's because we don't have the Osprey. I don't know. If I'm a 53 pilot and I don't like what it looks like, I don't care. I don't care about the Osprey. I'm not going. So
it kind of goes in, how young was the crew? Did they take the mission because wow, if I want to stay as, stay in this position or whatever, I better take it. And it all goes downhill from there. Did they,
I don't want to say that about the crew just based on, we don't know. And
we don't know.
There's any number of factors that can come into play. That being one of them. Human factors are always, usually one of the primary concerns, but it's just it's a tough scenario to kind of wrap your mind around, because you wonder, what could we have done differently? And that the only way we're going to, find that out is let the investigators do their thing. But the basics, the night terrain, weather, all that stuff is already kind of painting a picture of this would have been a very challenging flight no matter what.
Having in Navy safety school, we talked about several 53 accidents, and the moral of the story is everything could have been just fine. There could have just been some mechanical thing, failure, whatever. Who knows? Like you said, we're going to find out, and hopefully it's something that will prevent this from happening again. That's always the goal, at least in aviation.
Yeah. Very sad.
Sad.
Okay. Moving on to the next topic. The Army has spent, Daniel, you'll love this, yet again, because I think back when you were flying the Apache, there was this thing called the Comanche that the Army spent a whole bunch of money on, and then we didn't get it.
Yeah. I was in flight school, and they had they brought the Comanche tent out there, and they had us all check it out. And I sat in the mock-up of the Comanche, and the big thing about it was it didn't have pedals. You twisted the grip for the rudder, for the tail rudder, I should say.
So that was auto, like a SAS. It just kept itself. You didn't have to put in pedal.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was also that was the first time I'd ever seen. There were no gauges. It was strictly 2 big glass MFDs in the front. None of this worked. This was a mock-up of it. And, I thought at the time, I thought, wow, that's interesting.
Daniel has a person that doesn't know a lot about helos, what would be the advantage of not having the pedals and instead having the yaw control here? I mean, I'm just asking.
I don't. Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know what the advantage would be. I don't know.
Well,
because that would have to be strictly fly by wire, and
Right.
so if you have a, yeah, it'd have to be.
to let Gonky fly it, because that way jet pilots can fly it with their feet flat on the floor.
So easy a jet pilot can fly it.
Yeah. So then you can do it too.
I don't need to
Yeah.
have that skill.
But anyway,
But it was a test bed. When they canceled that program, I think I was in Afghanistan, or right about that time when they canceled it, and I was thinking, wow, what a waste of money and all. And some of the senior maintenance guys were saying, like, no, actually, we learned a lot, and it kept the research and development fund going and all. And that's what they said. We got CMOS, Common Missile Warning System. We got from the Comanche program. That's where they were testing the Fenestron tail, because I was out there at Fort Rucker when they had that. I think it was a Dolphin or something that they put a Fenestron on the back, and they were flying down the runway sideways up to, and they had a car. It was like a Camaro, Wombat. I love it. It was a Camaro riding with it as it's riding, going sideways down the runway. And it was like, wow, what are they doing? They said, oh, they're testing the Fenestron, showing that it has enough authority, to do 60 miles an hour and all. So there was a lot of research and development that came out of that funding. It kept the, what do you call it? The research and development engineers employed doing something. Yeah, still trying to make a armed reconnaissance helicopter in the meantime. Yeah, that's what I heard is why they kept the Comanche program. And that's why, well, this thing now, what is the Future Armed Reconnaissance?
The FARA. Yeah. So
FARA.
the FARA had an abrupt change of direction.
Yeah.
But this one's more significant because they spent $2 billion and requested another $5 billion. And now the plan is, scroll down, Doug. So they had prototypes from Bell and the Sikorsky, but now they're basically saying, you know what? We're just going to focus on the UH-60 and the Apache, like modernization. So they're just going to keep what they have. But it's just like what you said. They don't view it as a failure because they're making progress. The majority of their signature modernization efforts are either on time or ahead of schedule. So, they really want to do something else. They don't have a replacement for the OH-58, but which, by the way, is coming to DCS very soon.
Yeah.
They just announced. But they want to compare or add the Shadow unmanned aircraft system to AH-64E. So kind of like a loyal wingman concept, which we've talked about with Fat Amy. So now you can have your little fleet of drones to send them downrange while you're hiding behind the mountain with your eye heads and a longbow. And they even talk about this. The Comanche was $9 billion. They just couldn't seem to square the corner. So on paper, or at least headline wise, it sounds like it's something that is bad. But the way you put it in perspective, it may be, in the end, something that really benefits everybody.
Yeah.
It sounds like it was kind of a technology demonstrator and they just pulled stuff off of it, right?
Yeah.
That worked.
And that's where they used the money. And that's the same thing going with the drones. Everything's going to UAS as drones and all. We just started using them when we were in Afghanistan. And the one big failure I saw on them was the one person controlling it. They told us that we were going to be doing an assault on a compound, and we were flying cover for the ground element. The drone was up high, and next thing you know, the assault's starting, but it's about a K or two away from the actual where the coordinates were that they gave us. And the drone, the big voice in the sky was saying like, hey, there's still nothing going on. And we're like, hang on, the fight's over here. Go over here to these coordinates. And they're like, nope, we're looking and nothing's going on. Like, it's over here. The fight is over here. quit looking there. It's over here. And they said, nope, we are on the target and there's nothing going on. And we're like, yeah. So we let them go and went on with the guys doing the assault and all. So that was one of the big deals on that. Now, obviously, drones are being used a lot more, and the Echo model can control, the front seater can control a drone now. But that, I think y'all had talked about it before, maybe with Casmo or not, but pilot overload. Now you're controlling not only the helicopter, your targeting system, your front seaters doing the targeting system, the radios, your back seaters flying the aircraft and keeping an eye out around the aircraft. And now he's also got to control a UAV. So yeah, you got a lot going on up front, or you got a lot going on in a helicopter. So who knows if that's how they're going to make it with all this research and development, make it better, easier to manage all that information.
Sounds like you guys need like a Hawkeye type helicopter command and control of drones.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
Or they could do like clearing turn, like the Mexican government did down there in McAllen. They had told us when we were down there, they said, hey, the Mexican government is bringing their drone down and they're going to be flying along the border also. So we need to stay away from our side of the border, stay away from the river by at least a mile, because their drone is going to be patrolling on the south side of the river and they're going to be hugging up on the river and all. And they showed us a picture, and I'm telling you, the picture of their drone was a Cessna 172.
With nobody in it?
Yeah. Well, they said nobody was in it, but they said, yeah, that was their drone. It was going to be an unmanned. Yeah.
Wow.
Clearing turn on that. Cause yeah, that's what,
Jeez.
I mean, hey, if that's what you got, that's what you got.
Yeah, if it works.
Yeah, we never saw it, but they said it was flying and whatever.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, moving on to the next thing. Gonky, airline talk. Age 67 died in the Senate, as we've discussed previously. In the House bill that came out, they were talking, they were going to move the age to age 67, or actually it was almost your 167 and 364 days was one version. But then they went to Senate and they basically voted 14-3 against the measure. Much to, it depends on who you are. If you're at age 65 or 64, you were like, oh no, I need 2 more years. And if you were any other age, you were like, please shoot this down. I don't want to lose 2 years worth of seniority. But here's the thing.
Months.
Watch this.
It's an arbitrary number. We just come up with it. 65. Let's just fire him.
Watch the guy on the left. He goes
through all the testing. He does it all, but we are going to
Delta
fire
guy,
this man because of that age.
For whatever reason.
But yet, sir, you are out there touting a project to recruit.
I want to put it one more time.
In 18 months, we are going to fire
to the
this
Senate
man.
committee.
We are going to fire
takes his
this
jacket,
man
disrobes,
because of that age,
and flexes.
Well, I mean,
good on him.
You know, man, I'm glad he didn't get into his full bodybuilding posing attire. That would have been a little weird.
Why? I just saw this. Yeah, well, actually, somebody sent that to me, but
look at the look of that lady's face. She's trying to,
she's like, oh dear, oh gosh, oh dear. Oh, dude. I don't know if that's what killed it, because they were like, oh boy,
yeah.
if this is what they get like at 65, we're probably it's time.
You know, I don't know, man. It's we were talking the other day, like, I've never been a big, bar and club guy, but I remember, in my 20s going to a couple, and I would see these 40-year-old, 45, 50-year-old people in there. And I always thought, man, I like when I'm that age, I hope I'm like on to better things. And like when I see you got to pilot this 65, I give me 2 more years, man. I'm like, dude,
yeah, it's time to let it go, Maverick.
Don't you have grandkids? Like, you want to Isn't there anything else other than
no,
dozing for
man.
dollars? I mean, I don't know.
That was the same thing when, like I said, when I hit my mandatory retirement age with customs, like, man, I still love it. I can still do this. Flexing my muscles and all that. I could still do it and all. But it wasn't, you know, and then like I said, I applied for the extension and got it and I was on it. And it was that whole time, all the agents and everybody's like, man, we love having you here and this and that, but man, take the blinders off.
It's time to go.
Yeah. What was it? Rose-colored glasses. I only saw the good stuff, the fun stuff I was doing, and not all the government BS, all the computer classes, the EO classes, all that sort of stuff. And like I said, it wasn't until I retired that I thought, like, wow, man, why didn't y'all tell me that sooner? Yeah, I should have left. Right. I mean, it was, you know, it sucked. And I think it was possibly on y'all's deal. Somebody said, like, if you don't have your retirement all set and done by the time you're in your 60s with the airlines,
man, 2 years ain't gonna help you.
Yeah, you messed up. You messed up.
Well, on the flip side, though, let's take a moment to appreciate the irony that the people voting on a retirement age themselves will not retire.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, they're 20 years his senior, and you know, sometimes they just vote and die same day. You know,
That's
whatever.
True.
But,
I mean, yeah, I agree with you 100. I agree with you 100%, Mover. But playing devil's advocate, you know, you are in command. Hey, Luna, you know, you do have people's lives in your hands, literally. So, I mean, I get it. But you know, the whole argument of it's just an arbitrary number. There's people who are like 50 that probably health wise should not get should not be in command of an airplane. And there's probably people who are 70 that you look at them and you're like, dude, that guy's.
Well, that's the double-edged sword, right? Because people were like, whoa, we raised the retirement age. And then the counter argument was, okay, but then we're going to raise the medical standards across the board, which then will disqualify people in their 50s and 40s and whatever, because if you start scrutinizing these medicals, unintended consequences sometimes arise.
Yep.
Yeah.
So here's Luna. Luna's here. She says, I think that just told you exactly why she's in here.
Bedtime.
Anyway, moving on. I just thought that was interesting.
I honestly didn't know. I didn't know there was a push to move it, man. Because they just, what was it? It's been 10 years, right? They moved it from.
Yeah. And that was a lost generation too, because that's caused so much stagnation going from 60 to 65, you know, because people plan their careers.
Have you flown with any 64-year-old types that you're like, man?
Oh, yeah.
Why are you like, I better pay attention because I may be PIC here at any moment.
Some of them, I mean, in the 60s also, you know, they're hitting on the 20-something-year-old flight attendants like, you can't kiss me today. And they're like, what? Why do you say these words? Like, what do you? I told her she couldn't kiss me today. And I was like, what? This is why we can't have nice things.
No.
All right, Doug. Hey, every Marine needs a hero. Sometimes that hero is 911. So the Marines had to call 911 for help when they lost the fighter jet. And so we talked about the 911 call.
We listened to it, didn't we?
We did, from the homeowner with the pilot in the background saying, hey, tell them to send help. But we didn't know that on the day that happened, when they lost that F-35, so this is referring to the F-35 that the guy jumped out and it just kept going and they found at the field. The duty officer, the ODO, called 911 too, to let them know we were missing a jet. So I don't know if that was part of the checklist or what. So scroll down.
Do they have that audio?
It said, scroll up real quick. It says 911 was little help, though, since they also didn't know how to find the jet, according to the audio. So scroll down. I don't think that it was on there. So I believe, so the major on the call says, scroll up, you overshot. I believe we potentially have an aircraft that went down in Williamsburg County earlier today. The major from the air station told the 911 dispatcher, and the dispatcher, of course, just like the other ones, like, you believe you have an aircraft that went down in Williamsburg County? That's correct. Knife hand. We were trying to look for it, and we were so far coming up dry. And then obviously we already talked about the one. I'm a pilot in military aircraft, and I ejected. That's the one where she's like, so where did you fall from? And he's like, about 3,000 feet. For the thing. Scroll down, please, sir.
If this is like, if all the calls are coming to one call center, they're like, someone's messing with us. We've got 2 calls about some crazy lost fighter jet.
One law enforcement official can be heard saying over dispatch audio that the military will find it quicker than us, and they've got more resources than we do. Daniel, back me up. I mean, I know you haven't done patrol, but to me, that sounds like a road cop that's like, this is not our problem. I'm not writing this report. Tell them it's the military.
Yeah, they need to call somebody besides us.
Yeah, like it's a civil matter. Civil matter. Yeah. That's not our. We don't do that. No, tell them to call somebody else. No, we're not. No, we're not. We're not doing that. But I thought it was funny in the fact that there was no loss of life. We can laugh about it now. But yeah, so they call 911 to report their jet missing.
Yeah, you got to figure 911. Everybody's figuring that's the repository of anybody else saying, "Hey, man, it's a plane just landed in my backyard." Oh yeah, where are you at? We're looking for one. And now they can call the Marine Corps and say, "Hey, we found your jet."
Yeah. All joking aside, it is good head work to let local.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's probably it's in the checklist. I mean, I don't know if there's a lost aircraft checklist, but a mishap checklist of hey, local 100%. Authorities let them know. So I mean, this is not unusual. It's just funny because nobody got hurt.
Well, it's
Pat Amy.
It's humorous because the plane just went bye-bye.
It's
not like, oh, it's over there burning. It's like, I don't know.
Smell you later, loser. I'm still flying.
Dude, where'd I park my car? You know what I mean?
If only it had gone back to base. If we get to that level of technology where it throws the dude out and then it lands itself at the base and it's like, where were you? Why are you out? Why are you in the field?
That's a hostile call sign renewal right there.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So Douglas, were you doing the aviation wrap up? Is that what you got right there? You're muted.
I can get it.
Oh, or is that faulty T7 parts? Whatever you got next, we can talk about. I think we got time for one more. What do you have? What is that?
That's actually my notes for the mental health minute.
For early. Let's talk about the T7 real quick because that's a thing. So the T7 Boeing, who just cannot catch a break, is in the news once again because they're pushing back T7 plans due to faulty parts, and it looks like the jet that was going to replace the T-38 and like now is now being pushed into not now. And it says they're starting low rate initial production in mid 2024, several months later, and it just keeps getting moved. And for those that don't know, it's a process, right? They have to do low rate initial production. The Air Force has to accept them. There has to be some testing. They have to develop all the syllabi. Like it doesn't just show up one day and it's like, all right, here's the keys, T-38, see you later. There's a lot that goes into it. So the Air Force plans to buy 351 by 2034, and that almost seems ambitious at this point because of all the production issues and Boeing issues, and but the Air Force just didn't really want to comment on the fact that we've had problems, but they were having multiple parts of various sizing from different suppliers, and it was just supplier problems. They had to send some parts back to the original manufacturer for repairs, and already suppliers have started quickly fixing the faulty parts. So it's just one more thing in a list of problems, not just for the company, because they're having problems with the KC-46. They're having problems with the or the MH-139. They're having issues with the 737. They're having issues. Like they desperately need to catch a break. But this affects pilot training. And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, in that you have a production problem and you can't produce fighter pilots. You can't produce pilots. And the T-38 is struggling because it's a 60-year-old, 70-year-old airplane by the time we're getting this. I mean, it's an old jet, and you know, you can only put so much into it before you're like, hey, we got to have something else.
Yeah, but you know, it's not right. Look at the F-35, right?
Yeah.
That thing is like decade. That thing's like a decade late, basically, right? So, this kind of stuff happens. I mean, the T-7 isn't as advanced of an airplane or a design like the F-35, but anytime you're going to have, you know, multiple suppliers, right? It's like building these airplanes is like a global event, right? And they do that for all kinds of reasons: spread cost, to entice another country to invest in the airplane so they can purchase it. But I mean, the Typhoon had these issues. F-35,
V-22.
Yeah, exactly. Probably a large majority of modern airplanes built. I mean, you know, Airbus doesn't build every single part on an Airbus, right? Yeah. You know, Boeing doesn't build every single part on a Boeing, but you know, kind of like you're talking about, Mover, the whole, you know, Boeing seems to be in a rut, and you're right. It seems like they can't catch a break. I mean, I think the T-7 will be a great airplane once they get it figured out.
100%. I mean, with Saab, yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, I think it said in the article it's delayed a couple months, and that's that would be acceptable, I would say, and given the standard set by other programs today. But, you know, who's to say that there won't be more setbacks in the future? Yeah. But you're right, man. I mean, it kind of stinks that these are the headlines we're getting out of this airplane, because we needed it 10 years ago, 15 years ago,
20.
You know,
it was old when the C model came out.
Exactly.
Daniel, what do you think?
The Comanche, the V-22. I mean, we needed that stuff either killed or fixed right the first time, or there's going to be people paying with blood for all the test flights and everything else. So got to get it right. You got to get it right.
Do you know, I mean, I know it's been a while. Is the Lakota having the same issues as far as, did the Army have any growing pains moving to that aircraft?
No. Well, yeah, they did, but not as much, because the Lakota, the BK-1, the EC-145, it was already out. It's just, remember but the contract was originally for a non-deployable aircraft for the National Guard or whatever here in the United States. It was not supposed to be a deployable aircraft because it wasn't designed to go into combat whatsoever. Now they could have, but then, you know, everything else would have gone downhill. You know, the gross weight would have gone up, the payload would have gone down, all that sort of stuff. So the Lakota, they ended up now making it the training aircraft at Fort Rucker, and it's not a training aircraft. It's a pretty complex aircraft and all, for somebody just learning how to fly to be learning to fly a helicopter on. So yeah, they had the problems with the Lakota, just everything. And that's just why that's why they've used the OH-58 for, since what, 91 and 92, whatever. I was fortunate. When I went to flight school, I did it in the Huey. Which
cool.
was,
wow.
Yeah. So that was interesting. You know, before I'd gone, you know, went to flight school for the Army, I remember I'd gotten my civilian private pilot license, and that was in a 152, cables, pulleys, you know, the whole deal like that. And then now to go to learn how to fly a helicopter, and it's the Huey. It's got a hydraulic system. It's got a turbine engine. It's a pretty step up when you're just starting out. So could you imagine doing that, you know, instead of the R-22?
Yeah.
You know, the Lakota's, it's got its deal.
That thing has a hover hold, doesn't it? It'll like auto.
Yeah, the SAS, it pretty much holds it. The Apache does, and so does the Blackhawk, an actual hover hold mode. But the the BK-117 or the EC-145 that I fly now, it's just got a really solid stabilization.
Awesome. Gonky, we have a voice message.
What?
Yeah.
Did you listen to it beforehand? Because
no,
get us.
That's the problem, dude. I didn't listen to it. The message said ignore at the end, so we're just gonna wing it.
Are you feeling lucky?
I am feeling lucky.
Oh, dude.
Get ready.
We're playing voice message roulette.
Oh gosh.
Roulette? Let's call it.
Hi, Mover. It's Dan. Thank you so much for all your great DCS and Mover Ruins Movies YouTube videos and your Twitch streams. I enjoy them a lot. And I'm really grateful that we can learn a lot about military aviation from you and the Ready Room channel that you're cooperating with Gonky and so on. And my question is on DCS, player versus player server. I once heard a fighter pilot on voice program say, I got radar contact to our GCI. We had a person being the GCI for our team, and that pilot said, I got radar contact to the GCI. And I wondered if a U.S. Air Force or Navy pilot would transmit something else over the radio if he detects bandits, or if that's what he meant probably, or is there a difference in civilian and military aviation regarding the statement having radar contact? Yeah, because I remember from civilian air traffic ATC that ATC can say.
Oh, that's
the part you wanted. Okay.
Well, I just ended. I don't know. Maybe. So maybe that's why. So are we doing like a stolen valor thing? Is that what this is? We're trying to root out this.
No, I think he's just asking, like, is that something a real fighter pilot would call? And I mean, the answer is yes, right?
You're just screwing around. I mean, 3-1 comm. It's targeted. Locked brawl, whatever. Targeted bullseye, X1Z, whatever. I mean, obviously there's differences, even Navy and Air Force. What do you say in the Navy? I forget.
Some trucker comm might be radar contact.
Yeah.
I mean, and it depends. I mean, if you're just, I would say stuff like that to ATC if I was coming to the field, hey, your traffic is a flight or whatever, 5 miles on 1 o'clock. And yeah, radar contact. But that's not a call I would make if I was being tactical, because words mean things.
No, usually it was just, declare group, whatever. And then you come back hostile Fox 3, I mean, there's not a lot of back and forth. So
I guess to really answer his question is, I mean, yes, maybe.
It depends.
It depends.
Yeah. It always depends. You can't. The dude could be a fighter pilot and just decided not to say fighter pilot things. I mean, I don't think dude is 3-1 comm, and yet a certain famous fighter pilot uses that in every video.
Watch Mover and I's DCS fight.
Right.
Flying. It's like there's
pilots. Why are you even
chance.
asking us? Yeah, of course not.
It's like there's no chance these guys are real fighter pilots.
There was a call sign for one of the fast movers was Dude 1 and Dude 2.
That's it.
That's
they were
true.
Yeah.
That is true. That is true.
Hopefully they're fans.
Before we move on to the mental health minute, I got to catch up on some of the chats from the audience, and then we will move on to today's topic. Zippers Forever says, military or civil service, one criteria to advance in senior ranks is to institute and lead change. So we get change for the sake of someone's promotion. Valid for validity.
Yep.
David says, all the talk of new combat wings, does that mean moving squadrons to new bases? That will go well when you start moving large amounts of people to new bases, even the logistics of men and materials costs. I don't think you can do that without a BRAC. I think
it's too expensive.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to, I don't know. Riri says servant leadership is unpopular in some circles, but I think it is best model. I know we hammer this one home a lot, but I will say not only is servant leadership important, but I think once you get to a position of leadership, you have to realize that you are the #1 support asset of everyone that is in your command. So your job is to inspire and motivate them, yes, but your job is to make sure that they have the equipment, the tools, the ability, and the motivation to do their job without you getting in the way. You are no longer the main character now. You're just a support asset to them. Okay. No one else. Just me talking. It's fine.
I agree. I got nothing to add on that, man.
No.
Jordan says it's the crickets are overwhelming. It's like you said in one of your videos on IMC Mover. If you're not sure, don't go. So sad to lose good people in that way. We don't know We don't know that way. We just know the facts that it was not in the best of conditions. It's a very tough sortie to be doing.
Yeah.
Zipper says that it has the 53 engine, has anti-ice, but it's not like the 60 or 64. What part anti-ice, Daniel? What do you get?
Just the intakes. On the Apache, it's just the nose gearboxes. So air's got to flow around that, and the intake vanes, the oil goes through it, engine oil, so it cools off the oil, but it's also hot. Plus, it's got bleed air that heats up the intakes for the engines, and that's pretty much the only engine anti-ice that we have. The de-ice with the blades, like I said, electric blades.
So like boots on the blades, or like how does it?
No,
you just have to put
a stainless steel spar.
Okay.
It was a stainless steel spar on the leading edge.
Okay.
It just heats it up.
Wow.
That's why. Wow. I mean, it takes a lot of electricity to do that, and it does it. These two blades will heat up, and then these two blades will heat up. They don't do them. They don't do all four at the same time.
You just don't have the juice to do all that.
Yeah, and so, well, then we never did it. But like in the simulator, when they were showing us, they said like, oh yeah, and if one doesn't fully de-ice, and it sheds half the ice, yeah, man, you got some vibrations going on until it does. So
it sheds everything. It jettisons the cockpit from the helicopter.
It's called blue blades. One blew this way and one blew that way. It's not
wow. Oh, jeez. Bob says 361 was my squadron, a Scud punch. I need that investigation result. Could have been 10,000 things. That's valid. I mean, it could have absolutely been. Garrett says the 53s are working overtime. They're doing their heavy lift mission and troop transport MV-22 mission. So Daniel, you mentioned, light crew, probably not, but they could have brought things to Creech.
Oh,
yeah. They could have brought things to Creech and been like, hey, we got to get back.
Yeah.
And so late night, who knows, we got to be back in the morning for whatever. Again, that's
we don't know.
We don't know. Zippers Forever says, I've flown that area in Hawks and A-Stars on goggles. It is rugged and gets nasty cold.
Yeah, exactly.
That's close to Fallon, right? That's kind of that little more Fallon area.
You got to cross the same mountain range. I mean, it's more mountains actually, because you're going further south over probably.
Come on. You got the Cajon Pass that's full of wires. How high the ceiling was. There's and everything after that.
They said the San Diego County Sheriff's Office helped them, which is that air unit is. Have you ever seen their? I mean, have you ever worked with them or seen anything?
I haven't worked with them, but I've seen what they've done.
They're amazing. They've got like 6 helicopters and a full like the Bell 412, I think, and a 407.
Like stars and 407s. Yeah,
that's a huge area they're covering too. Rex Magnum walking Texas beaches. Thank you. This weekend over Galveston, a lot of jets, not general aviation, but nothing on flight radar. Normally T-38. I know you can't talk specifics why that is. They're just not squawking.
Yeah,
they don't have MODES, which is what ADSB. They don't have that. A lot of fighters don't. Bill says, in the case of the Apache or the Cobra, how is the front seater any different than a guy in back in a fighter? Love and respect all of your opinions, but especially looking at you, Mover, on this one. Thanks for your the great show, y'all. They have real wings. They're real pilots. Go ahead. Daniel, tell me about this.
Yeah,
they can fly.
The front seater different? Yeah, we're both rated aviators. We can both fly and all day. See, in case of the Apache,
Can you fly it? Can you fly it from either seat, Daniel?
Yeah, both seats have the difference on the front seat is that the cyclic it collapses, it folds down, so it's out of the way, so you can have easier access to the optical relay tube, and then you start the aircraft. Most of the engine stuff, well, that was back in the Alpha model. The Delta, you could still do it in the front. The starter switches are in the back. You still got the same power levers on the front, same collectives, front and back. And as it was in the Apache and the Alpha model Apache and the Cobra, most of the radios were in the front. But no, that's pretty much the only difference. We're both rated aviators in the Apache and the Cobra.
Wow. There you go.
Janitor's back says the Senate is saying other people are too old to do their job. Yeah, I think we were talking about that.
No.
John says that's exactly what I was thinking. How do I write that traffic collision report? Is the pilot party one, or is the owner of the house that I could just see the cop. You know, they're like, "Hey, we want to send you that." No. No. That has me staying late written all over it, and we're out of overtime.
I'm busy.
Yeah. Silvers Forever says, Dan, did you fly the airspace security mission out of DCA post 9/11? Thought we met when you were flying. What is this?
Halcon. Yeah, Halcon.
Out of DMA, yes. But hell, I'm old and have a TBI.
So yeah, zippers forever. I did fly the what was it called? We call it the TFR, the no fly. It was called NCR. In the citation, and then. Yes, Halcon is Halcon. It's Falcon in Spanish, and that's where we were flying out of DM down into Mexico, intercepting the loads, doing all that with the we called them the Ninja Turtles, but they were the Mexican host nation riders that, and we called them that because literally their names were Leonardo, Raimundo. Yeah, so we had fun with them. A lot of stuff with the TFR out of DC. I don't know if Zippers, if you remember, but several really cool things we did on that were one on the night shift. We were tasked to fly. Let's see, they're still doing it, so I'm not going to do this. The new incoming commander for the TFR over DC had to be shown times for intercepts and the gates that he had to meet and the calls that he had, the decisions he had to make for the calls to make as to who to launch when. So we went up in the citation over towards Annapolis, and sure enough, at 2 o'clock in the morning, our goal was at so many thousand feet up, comes zorching straight on into right over the right down the mall at about 1,000 feet. And I'm looking out the side there, and there's the White House, there's the Capitol, the whole 9 yards, and we're just scooted on out. But it was to show that incoming commander, when something is here, you got to make this decision. When something makes it here, and he's doing that speed, you got to make this decision in this call. When it makes it here, you got to make this call. When it makes it here, you got to make these calls as to whether to go kinetic or what, you got to make all the calls on that. And then I was the one on the flight where, I don't know if you guys remember this is right after the year 2002. It was in the winter time because we got that morning, a front had come through, severe clear day, super cold. There at what's the airport there downtown? Washington D.C. airport. Is it Reagan? Yeah, the one downtown there at D.C. on the river. That's where we were based out of. Sure enough, one of the other pilots said, like, wow, this is one of those mornings where somebody's going to bust the TFR. And every morning when we show up, we'd always get an alert to launch, but we wouldn't launch because it was always an unknown rider to the south, but it was always the traffic helicopter that people weren't making calls and all that sort of stuff. And sure enough, we got a call saying like, unknown rider, launch now. We ran out there, and this was like, this was like at 10 o'clock in the morning on a weekday. We got on the jet. They slowed up the traffic there at the airport enough for us to take off straight over towards the Capitol, climbing on up. As we're climbing on up, they told us there was an unknown rider, 11,000 feet over Dulles, headed eastbound towards the Capitol. He's not talking, and he's headed towards the Capitol. Like, oh, shoot. Oh, wow. So we're climbing on up. We're hooking up the radar, trying to find him and all. And by the time we hooked him up, controller told us, like, back it off, Omaha. The Vipers they've got him. The guy is still not talking, and they're going to thump him. And we're like, oh, shoot. So sure enough, we hold off a couple of miles, and the Vipers sit there and they thump the guy throwing flares. And we're like, oh, shoot. And then they say, like, all right, Omaha, you need to clear the airspace. They're fixing to go kinetic on them. And we're like, oh my God. They're fixing to knock them out of the sky right over DC. And we're like, oh my God, I can't believe this. And then they go, up, hang on. We just made contact with the pilot. He's going to go to Easton Airport, right across the bay east of Annapolis is Easton Airport. And we're to follow him and land with him and find out who the hell this guy is. And so it was a Twin Beach, an old tail dragger, Twin Beach. Oh,
wow.
We land behind him as the PIC, as he's taxiing in. Myself and the other guy, we're grabbing the long guns. I'm grabbing the shotgun, putting the body armor on. And as he taxis up behind him, we open up the door, walk over there, well, kind of jog on over to the Twin Beach. And there's Maryland State Police, man. And those guys were like, good God, they were 10'8". I mean, they were huge two guys. And I walk up to them and they're going like, I go, all right, man. And he's going like, well, you're the professional at this. You go up there and see who it is. I'm like, oh, shoot. So I walk up there and so it's an old Twin Beach tail dragger, the corrugated looking kind prop job. The back door opens up and this one old man, 100 years old, hops out. And I'm going like, oh my God. I'm going, hey man, U.S. Customs, is there anybody else in the airplane and all this? He's like, no, man, did you see that? Those guys they had fire coming out of the back of their planes. I'm like, that was because of you. And he's like, what do you mean? And all he goes, I was just told to land here. Then you look in your plane. I look in there and it was completely gutted except for the one seat that he was sitting in and a little Garmin, it wasn't a moving map Garmin. It was back the Garmin's with the original ones. And I'm like, man, you know where you were flying? You know all this and all that? He's like, yeah, I was at 11,000 feet. I'm above, the airspace over DC. I'm like, no, man, let me see your map. And he's going like, oh, the map was like 10 years old.
Pre 9/11.
Perfect.
In the 90s.
9/11 and all. And so we talked to him and all. He was taking his plane there anyway to have it refurbished. And
yeah,
like,
well, you won't need it for a while.
But that was the day, that afternoon, that's when Tom Ridge was on the national news saying like they were showing everybody running out of the Capitol, vacating the Capitol that morning. And that was us. That was up there going after the guy. Yeah, it was good times there, Zippers. It was some wild times there.
Well, all right. So Luna Cam here. She has a doggy door for those that saying she needs to potty. She just wants to go to bed. Riri says bean counters in charge is a large part of the issues with Boeing. When you prioritize money for the stockholders, bad things happen. Seems like a theme. I don't know. Garrett says a reinforced landing gear Navy version or a new T-45 for the T-7. He's asking if it would be better to have a.
If they design it for the Navy, it's more than just the landing gear. But here's the thing. I think they're getting rid of all the carrier stuff.
Right, because the magic carpet and the pilot landing modes and stuff, you don't need it anymore.
No, it could be, same.
Jamie says, mover, you should collaborate with Cletus McFarland. Prize for a Freedom Crown Vic race is a helicopter.
Give him a call, mover.
I don't know anybody. Like,
give him a call.
Yeah, I'm not going to go invite myself to this man's channel. I'd love to. Auburn alum, is Boeing really to blame? How many planes? He lists some have not been mismanaged and estimated by estimaged. I don't know. By the U.S. military. It seems the military procurement process is a number of problems. True. Two things can be true at one time, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. MJ says, great show. Thanks, guys. Happy birthday, mover. 41 is a prime. So there's that, right? Enjoy the day, mate. Stay safe and strong. Gonky, you got a present for my birthday. Zippers, we talked about that. Mark says, hi, Luna. Blink twice if you want to visit me in Houston. I think she's not blinking at all.
No,
she's sleeping.
They're shut.
She's like, I will. No, there she is.
There it is.
She's blinking.
No. She's like, I will go without you, sir. I gave you a chance. That's hilarious. Treat for Luna, such a cute doggo. She's a good girl. I'll tell you that. Douglas, hit it off. Let's finish this strong with the mental health minute, please, sir.
Yes, sir. This is something that a viewer had suggested a few shows back, and it's one of those things where I felt really smart because as soon as I read about it, it made sense, but I didn't think of it. It's compassion fatigue. It's a fairly newly discovered and investigated phenomenon. The best way I've been able to characterize it is basically PTSD by proxy. So you're helping somebody else through trauma, and you end up with the stress from the repeated exposure to victim trauma. And it's common in the professions that you'd expect. Although I was surprised to see student affairs professionals on there. Non-professionals, people who have had a relative go through a debilitary illness over a long period of time. The symptoms are really similar to PTSD, but specifically notable is an inability to feel compassion, and then anger, annoyance, skepticism, reduction in social contact, negative coping, alcohol and self-medication, domestic violence are all common. And it just kind of goes to show that, spending all of your energy on caring for others depletes the amount you have left to care for yourself. I suspect many of us might have been through that at one time or another.
Yeah. So, I mean, thanks, Doug. I think this is important. I mean, wow, shared symptoms with PTSD, inability to feel compassion. I think you see that a lot in general, anytime you're dealing with people on a regular basis, and whether that's in the military or law enforcement. I mean, think of the military. If you're in any kind of leadership role, you're constantly dealing with other people's problems. And I think after a while, you start to just, okay, whatever, get out of my face, stop whining, just do it or whatever. And you kind of forget that these people, for them, it is immediate. For you, it's just one more problem. And when you kind of let yourself become numb to it, you're at risk of missing indicators and signs that may be something more serious, because that person may be coming to you. It may not be anything related to what they're coming to you about. That might just be a symptom. That might just be, just the thing that set the cascade, set the thing in motion, the first domino to fall, and they're falling apart. And you missed an opportunity to intervene and stop that permanent action to a temporary problem. So I think it's a great thing to talk about, because, and it works for ourselves too, because if we're constantly finding ourselves in situations where, we're very non-sociopaths are typically very empathetic people, in general, I think good people like to help others. And so, but if you do that a lot, sometimes your own battery drains. And if your own battery drains, you're actually worse than if you didn't try to help them at all, because then you tell people, toughen up, you're too soft, you label them. And then next thing you know, things have gotten really bad. So whether it's in leadership, whether it's in a situation where your job is helping others, or whether it's just being a good friend, sometimes you have to take a step back and have a little self-awareness and go, I am not in a position to help others until I work this out, until I make a change in my own life. And then I can recharge and go back, because I think one of the worst things that can happen to a person is if they reach out for help and it's that last grasp, it's that last try to fix their situation, and they come up short because you're not there to help them, or that other person's not there to help them. So a little bit of self-awareness goes a long way, and recognizing your own signs and symptoms of, hey, I'm getting burnt out. I need to take a step back. I'm not in a position to help other people. Because if you don't, then you're going to be in the same situation too, because you got compassion fatigue. Gonky.
Yeah. I mean, you hit a lot of the high points. I would say, it's like when you get on an airplane, like put on your mask before you help others. All right. So you have to take care of yourself as well, because, this new position I'm in now, like I hear a lot of problems that people are going through. And, you know, it does, you just think about these things. You can't not think about these things, you know, if you're somewhat of a normal person. So, yeah, in order to help other people, you gotta take care of yourself. And, you know, the ways you combat that is, you know, you make sure, you know, rest, eat, exercise, and you're talking to people, right? So if things are weighing on your mind, you got to talk to people, and, you know, don't let it build up inside. You got to unpack it and figure it out, because the people that are coming to you for help, you don't want to sell them short. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know, Daniel, what do you think?
Yeah, no, that going into one that I came out of Afghanistan with that, with the, what would you call it? The fatigue. Then on fallen angel missions where we would, actually getting launched with the medevac to go pick up a soldier that was injured in combat. And then you find out when you get there that they'd passed when you were on the way there. And then I felt myself, damn it, you know, if we could have just gotten there faster, we could have just bent the aircraft getting there. You know, maybe we could have helped them. Maybe that extra 1 minute, 5 minutes, whatever it, you know, took, maybe would have been the difference, you know, to helping that person. But dealt with that a lot. And like I said, writing my book and talking to people afterwards, coming back, that's when they kind of, you know, people once again took the blinders off me and said, like, look, you can't be Superman. You can't be there. You can't save everybody. There's some people that are, you know, it was what it was. You know, they died for whatever reason and all. And from that, I ended up, you know, like I said, everybody that I met, talked to, or whatever, I absolutely shook their hand, told them to be safe with, you know, pure passion. You know, please, I don't want to, you know, go to your funeral. You know, if anything ever bothers you or anything like that, you know, let me know. And that's the same thing now with this EMS job is, you know, going on a mission. They don't tell us the person that we are going to pick up, especially if it's a child. They just tell us the location and the radio frequency that we're going to. Now, the paramedic and the EMS, or you know, the EMT, the nurse, they end up getting the actual patient information, but they can pretty much tell, and pretty much they'll tell me also, because on the way there, I'll say, okay, how much does this person weigh? So I know how much gas, you know, how much weight I can play with going into this place. And if they put that person's weight, you know, pretty much below 100 pounds, it's pretty much, it's going to be a kid. And then, or if they say, yeah, plan on when we get back here with the patient, plan on it being a, you know, plan on going to Texas Children's Hospital. And also then now I know, okay, yeah, the weather's looking pretty bad going that way. But now that I know it's a kid, yeah, I'll push the weather a little bit more and all. And finally, and this is after now, what, 3 years I've been doing this, it's to the point now where it's like, okay, we're not doing anybody any good if I end up wrecking, you know, trying to save this person and all. So I'm not saying I don't care anymore, but yeah, there's just some people you can't save and all. So you gotta deal with it and all. So
yeah, no, that's all good. And remember, 988, you know, good military one source, your director of psychological health, Gonky, in your wing that you need to go talk to. Yeah, there's resources. Don't bottle it up. Especially, you know, if you're somebody that feels that you're strong and you're always the one that people go to for help, you can still use some of these resources to keep your unload some of that baggage so that you're able to help others. Don't just bottle it up, because, you know, it's like Daniel, like you're talking about, sometimes you get in this situation where you know, you kind of take that weight on yourself and you have to realize you can't. And they talk about this in law enforcement too. You know, we call it running code. When you're lights and sirens to a call, you do them no good if you create an accident and don't ever make it. So, you know, you have to balance helping people with survival. But Doug, what do you think, man? Did we hit all the highlights? You got anything else to add for closing thoughts on that?
I wanted to highlight something that came out in what Daniel said and what you just said too. When I lecture on suicide, one of the things that I talk about is, you have to secure your own safety if you're going to help somebody, and taking yourself out of the area of threat sometimes is the first step, whether that's, literally or psychologically.
Yeah. Thanks, Doug. We got a couple from the audience. I think on this topic, Doug, you starred them. Hi, Gonky. It's Lynn.
Hey, Lynn.
How do you? Okay.
Yeah, family friends.
Okay, cool. Awesome show. Keep up the good work, gentlemen. Happy birthday, Mover. Thank you. First name's Mark. You have met.
Riverside Air Unit.
Yeah. John says, I completely agree. Desensitization is natural. Sometimes blocks a necessary empathetic approach to viewing others' issues. Yeah, and I think it creates a bias too, especially like in law enforcement or what I'm doing now currently. If you lose the empathy, you lose a little bit, number one, of your humanity, but number two, of your objective thinking, because now everything is a scam. Everything is, oh, well, they're just trying to work the system, or, oh, they're, and you lose that objectivity when that happens. Salmon Rosso says, help me out. I'm not a pilot. Can you explain this little bird crash Fort Benning back in 2011? I remember just watching a black smoke trail, the sound of a crash, site pulling security. I don't know what that means. I don't know. I would have to find the AIB report.
Right.
Yeah.
She's back, by the way. If y'all can't tell, we got to wrap this up quick. Appropriate comment. Have a lot of friends outside of your profession, balance your life, and get a dog.
Yeah.
And they will tell you when to go to bed. Laura says, some people will take advantage of your empathy, weaponize it, and you have to be aware and protect yourself against that. And I've just found out this week, some people will take advantage of your charity. They'll take advantage of your work ethic and take you for granted. And it is incredibly frustrating when you feel like you've given quite a bit and you don't get that return. So sometimes it's good to just step back and allow yourself to recharge. Don't internalize it. Don't take it personally. Just move on with your day. Okay, awesome. We have reached the end according to the Luna Bell. Go check out Above the Bed. Is it still on Amazon? Is that where you can find it?
Amazon, YouTube, Tubi, I think. Yeah, it's still out there.
What about Apache Warrior? I got it now. I haven't seen it. Is that okay?
That's on there. That's on all the social media sites also.
And this is on South of Heaven is your book, which is amazing, by the way. And the book's always better than the movie. And this is on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere you can get a book.
Yep.
Cool. Daniel, it's been a pleasure, man. You're so interesting. Like you got so many cool stories, man. And we haven't, we did the interview and I think we barely scratched the surface on that.
Yeah. I was new to that also. I didn't know what to say.
Yeah. Gonky, what you got, man?
No, Daniel, thanks for gracing us with your presence, man. I love hearing your stories. Like Mover said, we barely scratched the surface, and really appreciate. We got to have you back on again, man, at some point.
Yeah, thanks for having me on board, man. It was fun. It's a lot of fun.
Hell yeah. Douglas, parting shots for the kids at home.
Oh, I'm good, thank you.
Have any comments? No. Okay, we've reached the end.
We made it.
All right. Well, every time I say all right, Luna looks at me. She's like, do you mean it? All right, everybody. See, all right. Nope, I can do it again.
Yeah, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next Monday.
Have a good night.
All right, guys.
Thanks.
See you.